Okay, it's 6:30 p.m. Let's get this meeting started. If somebody would like to lead the Pledge of Allegiance for those who'd like to participate.
I'm in front of it. I can do that.
You hit the floor, Skip.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. So I'm calling to order the Nottingham Planning Board meeting for June 10th, 2026 in the Town Office Meeting Room 1. I'm going to start out by having the members introduce themselves, starting to my right.
Skip Severn's alternate.
Carrie DeGeorge, Planning Board Member.
Drew Stevens, Chair.
Kenny Arsenal, Vice Chair.
Glenn Griswold, alternate.
Chris Evans, Secretary of the Planning.
Leonard Haney, SRPC.
Tracy Stickney, Land Use Coordinator.
Thank you. And I will seat Skip for Andrew Lichtenwalner, who will not be here tonight, and I will seat Glenn for the open planning board seat. Okay, next on our agenda is our public hearings. We have a couple of them tonight. First one is case 26007, site plan review for Precision Cut Lumber LLC, 123 Old Turnpike Road. Application from Ian McKinnon, PE of Jones and Beach Engineers on behalf of Precision Cut Lumber LLC, requesting a site plan review. The intent of this project is to construct two 56-foot by 100-foot chicken houses to expand the poultry and egg business. The affected property is located at 123 Old Turnpike Road in Nottingham, New Hampshire, and is identified as tax map number 4, lot number 1-1. The first hearing for this case was on April 8th. We had a site walk on April 15th. It was continued from May 13th and also continued from May 27th. Okay, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening, Ian McKinnon with Jones Beach Engineers. I think I'll start tonight by kind of just going through, since it's we had to continue from the last meeting because I was out of town. We'll kind of go through just some of the updates, either on the plans or just what's been submitted to the board. I'll start with the plans. The first thing that was the kind of the major change to the plan is we removed the phase 2 building. Which again was, the thought there was that it would be a future hatchery. That's been removed from the plan, mostly because there was still obviously there's some elements there of does plan to wait on that. He wasn't going to build it from day one. So we removed that from the plan, hopefully to kind of clarify and say we're not going to seek approval for a future phase at this time. That was it was really just a box on the plan in an area that was already developed, so it didn't have any additional infrastructure or anything like that with it. So that was really, I'd say, in terms of substantive changes to the plan, that was removed from the plan. We did add the request of the code officer. He asked that we show there's a temporary chicken hoop house on the property, which he's reviewed and is compliant at this point. He just asked for it to be shown, the approximate location to be shown for reference. That's shown on the plan north, the northwest side of the property. Note-wise, I did add 3 notes to the plan based on the discussion that we came out of last meeting. One of them specifically just to clarify that the poorly drained soils on the site are shown really in a conservative nature. Those are mapped by a septic designer, which he maps based on a different standard than a wetland scientist. It was a conservative approach for him to say, well, these might meet the characteristics from a septic design perspective, and so they are not mapped wetlands. And that goes to we discussed it extensively before, is that there's a NHDS after the fact wetland permit that basically the previous owner, in my mind, got a slap on the wrist, but had done a lot of ground alteration and removal and then fill of material that it's with some good, some bad. That any sort of soil boring for the purpose of a wetland delineation would be tainted because of that. So, and that was within this project area, especially the areas to the on the abutter sidelines. So I just clarify that the poorly drained soils, we feel it's kind of a conservative approach that, although they might not be classified as wetlands, we're showing still a 75-foot setback from them because they have been mapped on the purpose of a septic plan. And we are still keeping any structure and the manure compost area out of that area. So we felt it was an additional step that we could take and would have really no effect to our desired use of the property. There was a request to put on there a note relative to one of the 1500 rules, which is the DS alternative terrain as it relates to agricultural operations. It's really a statement saying that we comply with the conversion of impervious requirement with this proposal. And then the last one is I did put together some area tabulations to calculate essentially based on the total lot area, what the proposed structure coverage is, lot coverage as a whole. So lot coverage would both be buildings and then impervious. Impervious we are counting as gravel or pavement. And then also calculated disturbance numbers. So we're essentially at less than 1% building coverage on the property. It is a 31-acre parcel. We are at roughly 4% lot coverage, so that would be building, pavement, and gravel. And then I did put in here both kind of the phase 2 disturbance and the total site disturbance because that accounts for any sort of additional disturbance under the original project we carry a site plan for now, which is the 2-story wood shop with an apartment now approved on the 2nd story. And so we are under our total disturbance, which is really what we need to look at for the purpose of confirming we don't need alteration of terrain permitting. We're at a little under 90,000 square feet, and I'd say that I tried to be conservative in some areas in terms of what would be disturbed. So we do not qualify for an alteration of terrain permit. There was no changes to the proposed retention area. None of the site grading has changed. As noted, as I mentioned, we have kept the manure composting area in the same location as it was before, where it's outside the 75-foot wet soils area that I mentioned. It is still within the 100-foot setback. And one of the next item is we did submit, based on the conversation, a waiver request for 4 waivers based on the conversation that we discussed, I think all of them, and I just formalized it in a request. That was submitted back to the board in May. And I'm happy to kind of go through those when the time comes for the board. But I can summarize the 4 waiver requests. The first was 2 of them related to essentially full survey of the property. The first being 8.35 surveyed property line. So this would be a full boundary survey of the 31 acres. As a reminder, we're only really occupying the front 4 acres of the parcel. And this waiver aligns with the same relief that was given under the original site plan. 8.36 is a similar, but it specifically relates to the existing grade and topographic survey of the full parcel. And so we're asking for a waiver from that under the same justification. And it was also in line with the original approval for the site plan, which is the area that we're working within. The third waiver request is natural features. So this one, I think I got the closest section that we could. This was related to essentially asking for a waiver from the board that we need to have the wetlands mapped in this area of the project. Because, as I stated, that our justification really is it would be hard to know what was a naturally occurring wet area with soil characteristics versus what isn't because of all the soil disturbance that was noted in that after the fact permit. And again, that was under the previous owner of the property. And then waiver request number 4, I noticed I accidentally recycled the number 3 in the title on the waiver request. But this one relates to the manure pad. We're requesting either a waiver or a determination from the board that they would permit the concrete pad under this section. We stated it kind of, it's titled really dealing with paving, but parking, on-site parking, but we note that it does mention a loading area or storage. And so I just added some color there too. I think it was mentioned in the previous meeting, but likely this concrete pad, if you follow the BMPs, both from the state and USDA and NRCS, it's recommended that those pads, if they're used for the purpose of composting, is installed with a 2-inch lip, essentially a haunch around the perimeter. It contains, so any runoff that might fall on the pad is essentially contained within the pad. It, in those scenarios, there was kind of, I think, mentioned earlier on about the chicken manure that some people do collect. So you have the option of putting in some sort of basin to collect the chicken manure, and that is an item that is desirable for gardeners, and is sold as a fertilizer on its own, separate from the compost material. I did some of the rough calcs that 2-inch lip over the pad size that we're proposing would, I think it results in a pretty absurd number of gallons. It's like about a 7,000 gallon capacity, because it's a 55 by 110 foot pad. So it's a pretty sizable capacity, which would take a lot of runoff over that pad. But we can dive into that more if we, when the board's ready to review those items. And then the last one, which I think we might think is the most important, I had a chance to, after the last meeting, Blair forwarded the request, or the proposal from the third-party agricultural consultant.
Mind if we pause just a second? What's the date on that plan?
This plan is dated 5/19.
And you say you submitted a waiver request that had 4 requests?
Yep, and that was submitted on, I can look it up, I think it was,
19th.
yeah, I have we submitted it with it was the updated plans and then a waiver request document. And it was emailed and hard
Yep.
copies.
And you guys have these plans, you guys have this plan?
This is your plan,
The one that says 519?
on the,
Yes.
This, yeah.
on the plans that you have, there's a kind of a table there on the bottom left, center left, and does it say 012 revision and then have 519?
Not sure.
I have,
It's okay.
All I
Yeah,
have.
519.
You guys have 519 plans, okay. I don't have the 4 waiver requests or the 519 plans, so, alright, go ahead.
And then the last item, I think, just an action item, was we, after the last planning board meeting, we did get a copy of the proposal from the third-party agricultural specialist. The town sought a proposal from, and then it was, I think the proposal came in the day of the meeting, and then we were, kind of at the end of that May 13th meeting, we found out about it, and then it came in a day or two later that we got a copy. We noticed that under the scope of review, the tasks are gonna be, just review of general materials submitted so far to the board, and comment on alignment with the USDA Natural Resource Conservation Service, or NRCS's, best practices. Review of regulatory thresholds, so essentially what happens if the project exceeds 3,000 laying hens, and from the state and federal regulation, and then the phase 2 evaluation of what that hatchery might do with the information found under the first 2 scopes. First, it's really as I mentioned, haven't really had a ton of planning put into the phase 2 hatchery building, which, as we stated, we removed on the 519 plans. And then the concern that we obviously have is the regulatory threshold analysis, is that, we've provided a lot of background information, both for the board, the public, about kind of some of the thresholds upon which you might hit state and federal oversight for a business like this. And as long as weight stays at 3,000 or less laying hens, which is his intent, and what the maximum of what this building would support is, we're still, I think we've said it before, that our intent is not to go over the 3,000 laying hens, because he doesn't want to trigger that next step of state oversight. And that runs from more than 3,000 to 15,000, correct? And then from 15,000 up in federal. So those numbers have been given as kind of, obviously, so people kind of understand the business and that there's tiers there of oversight. And Wade doesn't intend to exceed the 3,000 laying hens for the purpose of the egg business. And so, our concern there is that, is there a need to actually analyze state and federal requirements if we don't have a plan to trigger those requirements based on the proposal of this one building. And so I guess with that, we're essentially wondering if the board would reconsider their vote on that. And part of the reason is that it was at the end of May, I think it was as Wade kind of reviewed this, he started looking more into the regulations. He spoke with Sarah at the USDA NRCS's Epping office and went ahead and scheduled and essentially learned more about the process that they will do, essentially work alongside you to develop a project-specific BMP manual. It is at a cost to Wade. They don't know that cost yet. He has a meeting scheduled for June 26th with Sarah from the Epping office of the USDA. She essentially does an intake of the property just to see what there is, what his intentions are, and then they start to basically outline a scope of what USDA will help with. There is a cost associated with that. And essentially she puts together a proposal that they work hand in hand to develop a site-specific BMP manual, and it is done essentially with it's co-authored by the USDA and the applicant. So this is something that a lot of farms in the state will undertake. It's not a quick process, really, like anything with the government. But Wade did go ahead and schedule that. That's scheduled, and we do have an email confirmation if the board needs it, but that is scheduled for June 26th at 10 a.m. and she'll be on site. So our kind of that combined with, the removal of phase 2 and that we're not trying to trigger state and federal regulations, I think Wade's concern is the estimated cost where he's already, if he wants to go right to the source and develop this BMP plan with the USDA directly, who authors those BMP guidelines, he's going to pay for that too. And he feels that that's a more complete, and he actually ends up with a report at the end of that too. So we just want to put that out there as an item that we would ask the board to discuss or consider. Other than that, I believe I have touched upon any sort of update. Again, the only plan update was removal of that phase 2 structure. Okay, I'll stop.
Open it up to the board for questions. Larry, do you have any comments?
Well, one thing to note is, what do you guys want to do in terms of moving forward? There has been an appeal taken.
We got a notice of that today.
Yeah, and it's your choice. You can put this process on hold, let that process play out, or we can do it in parallel. You do it at your risk, expenses and stuff that you put towards this, and this may not be able to move forward on account of the appeal.
Yeah, I think our intent, I know that appeal has to go through its own process. Our belief is that that's kind of a side issue at this point because we feel the board agreed with us. I understand there's the right to appeal it and go through that process. So our intent is let's keep this moving.
Okay.
We'd like to, get us to the point that we can have action taken on the application. We're pretty eager to put a permanent structure up to house the chickens that are on site, so.
Okay,
Yep.
that's fine. It's your choice. I just wanted to let you know, this is what we were told to confirm with you.
Yeah, and obviously we'll keep tabs on that process. I believe it goes to the it's an appeal. that
It's
goes to the
already there.
ZBA.
Yeah, they have to start scheduling the meeting and dealing with it.
Yeah, it'll be scheduled for a public meeting to determine if they'll hold a public hearing on it, I assume, similar to an appeal of a variance, so.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay, cool. I think after that,
What is the appeal process?
Sorry?
What's the appeal process?
It was an appeal of an administrative decision, the board's administrative decision. When,
Here?
yeah,
an abutter took an appeal of actions that this board has taken. There were 3 things. 2 were procedural, related to the non-public session and just sort of like how the board, its processes went. And the other one was more substantive in the way that, of the board's decision to accept town council guidance that the use is allowed in the district because it's not strictly, explicitly prohibited in the zoning ordinance. It's a unique thing about agriculture. We talked about this.
Okay.
You have to say it's prohibited. It's unlike other uses. So That was what the board had made a decision on based on guidance. And this person's appealing that in addition to 2 procedural items. Okay. We just got it. We had a meeting with town council. We got guidance, so it was forwarded today to the ZBA to start their process. So.
Thank you.
So does that pause us from taking?
That's what I was just asking them. It's actually their choice. And they say they want to move forward with this and the other one just sort of moves in parallel. It's a bit, it's a risk on their side. They know that, they understand it, but, that's.
My assumption is that, I'm not gonna make assumptions here, but, well, my assumption is, I guess I contradicted myself there. My assumption is that the board were to take action on the application tonight and say it was in favor. I believe if the appeal process determined that there was something in error, I believe that actually reverts us back to the board because it potentially complicates the approval.
Of course.
So like, hypothetically, if the board were to approve it and that appeal process is done, if it's found through that appeal process, it kind of actually forces us to come back.
Yeah.
So we'll be under conditional approval anyway, and I suspect no conditional approval is gonna be signed off as complete until any sort of appeal is done. So it would still put the project somewhat in a gray area, even if we had a conditional approval, but it's a risk that we'd have to accept that will kind of be a waiting game until that appeal plays out.
Yes.
But we just wanna keep kind of pushing forward with this process here.
Thank you.
What was the depth you said on the lip on the concrete pad?
Standard's about 2 inches. I mean, we could, the lip, it's like anything, it can be altered to alter that retention capacity.
Reason I'm asking is because I'm just thinking about, when we get decent thunderstorms and, an inch or 2 of rain over a period of an hour.
Yep.
That kind of capacity over that size, how is that draining out afterwards and where is that going?
Honestly, from what I've talked with Wade is that, the water falling, and this is assuming that there's an active composting, bins are
Yeah.
in. Those piles are going to absolutely suck up that material, whether it falls on it or even pulls from it, from seepage beneath, because we've explained before that manure process, a lot of times you have to add water because, and as it's turned over, it needs water to continue that composting process. So there's really no way to run the numbers on, hey, it can absorb X amount of inches of rain over that same thing. But we feel that, you're right, like if you assume a 2-inch storm and it falls and there's no in or out via evaporation or absorption, it can take a 2-inch storm. In reality, a 2-inch storm falling on a pad with compost piles, there's gonna be absorption through those piles. So there's really no way to calculate out. I mean, we can, if somebody feels that 3 inches is better, I don't think there's it just, the way they form it, they'll just form it with a haunch and then just drop the slab pour in the middle. Essentially poured like a small short foundation. Yeah, frost wall, and you go as deep as you need to, but only a couple feet. And then you just choose where that slab grade is brought up to. So it's a very easy pour and you can create whatever lip size is needed. Obviously, we don't wanna go too high because then it's hard to get, equipment in and out or a tractor and stuff like that. But that's the idea behind it, is that I think 2 inches is generally like what we found for guidance is the minimum recommended as useful.
How does that work in the wintertime when the ground's frozen? Where's the absorption, or this compost pile is frozen? I don't know if they freeze it or not, but.
Yeah, that's because the compost generates so much heat. I guess if you left one unturned for long enough, it would start to kind of cool itself down. Because these are moved from bin to bin, it's like an old mulch, it's like any mulch pile. It generates heat the second you turn that thing over, or even itself, it keeps an ambient temperature at the edge, because it's always off-gassing heat.
Alright, so that's the pile, but what about the ground surrounding in this drip edge apron in here? That's frozen, where's this water going to?
The compost pad isn't proposed at the moment to have, we can have a drip edge, I guess, as an overflow. But what we're saying is that there's a 2-inch haunch there that if there was a rainstorm in wintertime, it would act the same way as in the summer. As long as those piles aren't frozen, which, because of the amount of heat that's put off, we wouldn't expect those piles to freeze. It will always have the ability to absorb. Year round, you have to add water, correct? Yeah, and so, it's very weather dependent. There's a moisture probe that is used to determine if, it's time to add water, and they physically inject water sometimes into these piles. So in terms of physically on the pad, winter conditions won't change. outside of the pad or even the drip edge next to the building, like, yes, the winter conditions would impact potentially the surrounding ground or capacity for infiltration, but that would be similar to any stormwater pond anywhere in the state. It obviously doesn't operate as an infiltration pond in the winter.
But this isn't a stormwater pond.
No, it's a concrete pad with a lip that there's a lot of adsorption from the pile. And there's, 7,000, I did the math today, it's about 9,000 something cubic feet. And it's about 7,000 gallons of capacity, if you just let it fill up to the 2-inch lip.
You're providing that drainage calculation to the town and this engineer to review?
It's not really a drainage calculation, it's just a volume there's no calculation about an in and out when it comes to what water could fall on the pad. I don't think we've been asked to do a calculation of, because there's no way to model how much absorption from a manure pile, but practically speaking, it's a material that wants water. It will absorb it if it's around it, or if it falls on it. So there's really, I don't think there's a calculation or model I could run to depict how much water over the pad is absorbed by that material.
I just think and wonder whether there's some point where the ground, like, a septic system, the ground gets saturated with this materials and it does not absorb, or the ground is frozen and does not absorb, and then where does this water run to? And it seems like there would be a lot of uses would have a drainage retention area, and it would be calculated for the area there, and you're claiming that this pile of chicken poop will absorb all the water in the whole site or something, I don't know, where no water's gonna go anywhere else, and it doesn't seem sufficient. That's all.
I think what I've said is the moisture falling over the footprint of the pad is self-contained because there's a full lip all the way around it. It has a capacity of a 2-inch depth, about 7,000 gallons. If I were to try and relate it to a hydrologic model that we might do for a stormwater system, that chicken manure pile, any of them, because they're continuing to compost, maybe not the last bin where at that point it's hit the 8-week mark and it's deemed composted. At that point, it doesn't want that moisture, and temperature-wise, it's a lot cooler because it's not going through the breakdown process. If I'm injecting water to something, it's, I can't calculate how many gallons per day a pile of chicken manure can capture, but it will absorb water because we have to add water ourselves if there's no water falling on it. But that pad is poured with a lip so that it is self-contained. And there's obviously a capacity there, but there really is no way. Our intent, and I believe that's very possible, that there would be no runoff from this pad with the lip, because that composting process is gonna need so much water. And it's probably gonna pull right from the pad. It's not even gonna be like Wade has to collect it or squeegee it into the pile. It's just gonna, it's like putting a paper towel down on the counter. It's gonna slowly pull that water in. That's essentially how it will act. It's a very it's a water intensive process that, I think there's been thought of, like, rain barrels and stuff like that. He's gonna try and harvest rain, and that's one of the thoughts with the chicken house. It's gonna be water coming off that roof too. There's no reason not to potentially harvest that rainwater and use it in that process, so. It's not required, but it would also limit the amount of water that he would have to pull from a well or something like that. So.
Right. So the chicken poop these are free range, running around chickens that are sitting around outside doing their business, right?
When they're outside, they will have free roam of kind of a limited area. There'll be movable fences to make sure they're not.
So when the rain goes, that water, urine, poop goes into the groundwater?
I guess it would be like, it's just like dropping fertilizer on your lawn. Yeah, I mean, in theory, it would break down over time. It composts
Yeah, but
itself.
we don't fertilize our lawn all year long, 365 days a year.
Well, you don't do that with chickens either. They don't stay outside.
They don't poop every day?
Most of the time it's in the building.
I
When
read
it's
somewhere
when
they
it's winter
excrete
time,
8 pounds a
talking-
month.
Excuse me, I have
Yes.
respect for you. If you could keep it for me, I'd appreciate it. In the winter time, they don't even wanna leave the building. Snow, chickens don't really,
Once it gets to a certain depth. Yeah.
and we usually keep the compost in the building and do what's called as a deep compost. So in the springtime, half of it's already, the bottom is already heated up. It helps keep the chickens warm, but it's already started the process. This doesn't remain chicken poop forever. That's why they call it compost. It's deactivated and safe by the end of the process. Most people don't even do the process. They just put it aside.
Bag it and go, yeah.
Yeah, I wanna do the whole process. You know, I'm asking the feds to come in and put a plan together that is bulletproof, acceptable by them. There is nobody around that can overrule them. And that's what they're coming to do. They're gonna put the whole plan together, and I'll ask Sarah to, you know, put something together for you guys to all read, because she knows this inside now. But, those are the standards we're going by. So these are the people that are putting my plan together. I don't see how I can do anything more. Okay,
I guess I'll let him.
Yeah, no, I just have a quick question, and I'm not sure who exactly this should be directed at. But once we have those BMPs, those guidelines, is there an enforcement mechanism such that in case you aren't following them or whoever isn't following them, is there some remedy for the town to ask you to change what you're doing?
Yeah, I imagine it would need more feedback potentially from the town code enforcement, but my understanding is that if I look at it from how I know enforce it, if you exceed the 3,000 limit, you then come under state oversight. They at that point can fine you, right? So if you're at the 3,000 or less, I believe, I've done a little bit of reading on it, is that it's that, hey, standard 3,000, or we now have authority over you, and the state would have the ability to take enforcement action, or if there's impacts. I think if, you know, our thought is we don't know the timeline of that document, which is part of the problem. Like, we would seek, if we're getting to that point, we would potentially seek some sort of condition of approval to allow us to provide a copy, because Sarah won't even give a timeline. They've got a lot of stuff I think they work on with very limited staff, but we would be required to see that process through and then provide a copy to the town. I don't think there's anything out of it that from a code enforcement perspective, like you'd be able to open the book and say, you're not doing this or this. From an operations perspective, because the town doesn't, in their zoning, have any sort of guidelines as to how this use is regulated.
Mhm.
But I would argue that because it's under a site plan, there's elements of the plan that if they're not put in, if they're not kept up to operating status and there's a complaint, then code enforcement could go in and say, hey, you've let your detention basin fill in completely. It doesn't even act like, that would be an enforcement action. So it'd be still on the site, but the best management manual with the USDA would obviously be a guideline for Wade to hopefully never get to that point. So there's the site plan items that would be enforceable, is my understanding from, you know, code enforcement. And the best management practice, I guess, would be a tool, and he would say, hey, you were also given this document, you know, if it ever came to that. But that's my understanding, because there is no state or federal oversight. They're the guys that can pull out their book and issue a
Well,
fine.
I mean, that's kind of why I'm asking about that, is because if there are situations, for example, where some of these best management practices either aren't being followed completely or, you know, aren't being implemented, what options does the town have?
Yeah, that's right. My guess is that it would fall back on the site, anything related to the site plan, which would be condition of the site plan that you're required to follow it. So I guess maybe that's part of it. It's a condition of the site plan approval, which makes it, anything approved under the site plan is enforceable by code enforcement. So I guess it kind of falls under that umbrella.
Could we add, you know, something along the lines of, as a condition that those BMPs have to be followed?
a copy provided and followed, and then
Yeah.
if there was any zoning complaint with the code officer, if there's a complaint from an abutter or just the general public, he obviously has to investigate it like he would any sort of civil complaint under the code. And this though would have the site plan and conditions that he could point to. No, but it would be providing the BMP manual, and no different than any other site plan.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah.
No different than any other site plan. Yeah.
So the issue is that, at the last meeting where you came before us, we voted to have a third-party technical review done in order to provide this board with recommended conditions of approval. And you're asking us to bypass that and relinquish any of our control over that process by just having the USDA and RCS do a BMP, right? And so, this board voted to have that be done, and that has not been done yet. So you're not giving us the information that we need in order to properly condition any approval that we might give this site plan. Right? Like this.
Well, I
candy-
sent in a statement.
Let me.
Did you guys get that?
Yeah, but we voted to have a third-party review completed at the applicant's expense, and you have not done that yet. If you had done that, then we would have the information that we need before us. From that, we had a 21-day estimated completion on that third-party review, and we would have that info in front of us right now so that we could feel like we've got the information that we need to act upon this.
Yeah, and what I'd like to, at the last meeting that we were at, I think you were about an hour and 45 minutes into it. And it was the first that we had heard that the board had even discussed at some point or pursued the third party. Like, we found out about it at the meeting, and this wasn't available at the meeting, and I think we got it a few days later. So the board took action and kind of told us, hey, we've reached out for this proposal. I don't even know if this full proposal had been received or reviewed by the board at the time, because we weren't given a copy or notified until the meeting. And then we were given this days after, so we didn't have a chance to review the scope. Normally, if you go through the third-party review process, say with like CMA, they actually come back with a scope of, they're given the plans, there's a scope of review, and the applicant basically agrees like, yep, I agree with the scope and I agree to the cost. Part of our issue is like the board, we didn't find out until the meeting towards the end. Then we received this days later, which outlined the scopes. And then it was like obviously seeing the cost. And so it didn't go through the normal process that other peer review, third-party reviews have gone, whether it's CMA, CMA I think is the only other
Because the
one.
response was Wade's response. We haven't had it, you would normally respond to the scope, but Wade's response is, no, we're not doing this. So,
Well, I guess
yes, we did go through the response. The board made a motion, we went out and found of someone to do it, we got a scope, we gave it to you, and now you are supposed to comment on it. The comment was, we're not doing that. So.
Right, and so we came today, it's the first time we came before you, and we've, I think, pointed out some reasons that some of the scopes aren't necessary.
Sure, we could remove the phase 2 evaluation because you're not doing a phase 2 anymore, but literally every other part of this is what the board needs in order to
Well, I'm under
better have
3,000
information to
chickens.
make any type of conditions on an approval.
Right, but
And you come before us talking about wanting to get a conditional approval tonight, but you haven't made any actions on getting this third-party technical review done like the board voted to have done.
But the same
So the
test will be
expectations
done
are
by the
really
federal
misaligned here.
government. They're not gonna charge me, and it's the same standard. Joe
We
Guy,
have
you
the
want me to
right,
pay?
this board has the right,
Did you read
to
the
do a
RSA's I sent you backed
third-party-
up by
Don't,
name?
yeah.
Excuse me.
Don't,
this board has the right during a site plan review to have a third-party review done at the applicant's expense. You have refused to do that. That's where we're at right now.
Okay,
And we're not denying that the board has the right to ask for that. I would say though, that it was a little, at the 11th, we felt a little thrown off. We were hour and 45 minutes into the last meeting. And it was the first that we had heard that there had been first somebody reaching out and finding somebody to do the report. And then it was, within 15 minutes of vote to do the report. And all we had heard was there was a report. We didn't know by who, scope. And then after the fact, we were given a scope of review. And then it was like, oh, well, if we'd had this, we probably would have discussed it at the meeting.
There was a vote to get a scope. That's what the vote was.
At the meeting.
My understanding, though, correct me if I'm
At a
wrong,
public meeting.
you had met with this guy to outline a potential scope. You said that in the meeting. You said you had met with this person and talked to them before the meeting to start putting a scope together, and then you refined it, I think, after the vote, but there had already been some discussions that happened before that meeting.
Okay.
And again, there was no indication until that meeting. That was our second meeting with the planning board. And then at the end of that meeting, it was kind of told to us, hey, we had this report. I understand the board
think
has
the
the right
board-
to a third-party review.
board
I'm not
has to-
denying that.
Determine that it doesn't have the expertise on the board. So they have to hear what you're proposing, and then they go out and find a scope to see what, you know, we're arguing over procedure here. The fact is that the board made a motion, the scope is before you, your response is you don't wanna do it. That puts us at a stalemate. Either the applicant agrees, or the board takes action, and the action is that they don't have the information in front of them.
Denied immediately.
Right, if this board doesn't have the information we need to properly condition any approval, the only other option is a denial of the application.
I'm listening, sorry.
Okay.
They'd have to remove scopes. They'd have to now review the scopes and remove it. It's not-
We can certainly still move forward, but this third-party technical review needs to be done. And it's gonna take a longer amount of time because you dragged your feet on getting it done.
No, it ain't, I'm going by every RSA the state has to offer.
But you're overlooking the key piece that says we still have the right to do a site plan review, which includes third-party evaluation.
Right, but
Exactly, so
you
you agreed,
can
end of
find a way
conversation.
that is cheaper for me, instead of look for the most expensive. And the
But you're not the one
guidelines
who
that
makes
this
this
gentleman is
decision.
gonna use.
You're not the one who makes that
No, the
decision.
state does,
Right.
and it's in the RSAs.
And you
I
can-
didn't make this up.
You can hire the USDA, no one's telling you can't, but we're still gonna have a third-party review of that. We're not gonna just take it on its face value.
We're not gonna do it with USDA, right?
You know, you can still hire them, no one's keeping you from doing that.
I'm not paying twice.
You're not, you're getting two different things. You're getting one person to make proposals of what you should do and another person working on
No,
our
they do,
behalf.
they do on your behalf, so he's not a third party.
We're working on behalf of the citizens of this town to
I am
protect
one
the
of them, I pay
citizens.
taxes in this town.
And there are abutters as well who could be
I
affected by
understand
this,
that.
and this board doesn't have the expertise to understand the intricacies of this site plan review, which is why we voted at the last meeting to have a third-party review done. Do you understand?
Yep, I understand. But you raising your voice at me ain't getting me through it.
You being obtuse is not helping anything here.
I come up,
You understand that if you don't do this third-party review, the only other option this board has is to deny your application. You seem like you want this to happen quickly. And by dragging your feet on this third-party review, you're not only making more time for yourself, but you're risking this board denying your application because it doesn't have proper information. Do you understand?
yep,
So how are we going to proceed on this third-party application?
take a vote.
The vote's been made, it's in your court. Are you accepting the scope, or are you gonna review it and then come back to us with some comments? Or do you wanna do it on the fly here?
In terms of reviewing the scopes.
Yeah.
It's up to you. I mean, the
I'm
price
not
of
paying-
the
I'm not paying $4,000 for something.
Well, then our only other option is to take a vote to deny this
I
application.
feel it's unlawful what they're doing, according to the
Then
RSA's in New
appeal the
Hampshire.
decision.
You have options to appeal.
Excellent, please do that. Please do that. Yes.
these two would
Please
go
do that.
away. If
Because this back and forth is unproductive.
If I can help you understand this a little bit. When you buy a house, the bank requires an appraisal, correct? It's not an appraiser that you choose, it's an appraiser that the bank choose. We're the bank in this instance. So we are choosing someone to conduct this review that is going to look out for the best interests of the citizens of the town and also to give us the information that we need to make the decision. I understand that you want to pay less money for it, totally understand that. And I totally understand that you want to go with USDA. Unfortunately, that's just not an option in this case. So you just need to decide.
I'm not trying to be difficult.
I totally understand. It's a frustrating
Maybe it's my
process.
legal background, but when an RSA says something and it's backed up by cases in New Hampshire, which I have sent the board, I also sent them what I felt was getting the same thing done, okay? Except for the federal government gives me incentives for following their procedures to protect everybody, was more than reasonable. Because even Sarah said, you're too small to have this done. And I said, but I want it done. So there's no question. I'm 100% safe and nobody can keep dragging me through through everything. So if I feel I'm being wronged, I'm not gonna get pressured into something. The RSA's backed up by New Hampshire cases, okay, say that I'm being wrongfully asked to do this.
If I may.
Incorrect about that.
Okay, if I'm incorrect, I'm incorrect.
The USDA does have funding available for that to cover the cost for you, so that you
I
wouldn't
know.
necessarily be paying for it twice.
And if I may, under 676 4B, third-party review and inspection, planning board reviewing a subdivision plat, site plan, or other land use application may require the applicant to reimburse the board for expenses reasonably incurred by obtaining third-party review and consultation during the review process, provided that the review and consultation does not substantially replicate the review and consultation obtained by the zoning board. The applicant may request the planning board choose a different third-party consultant, and the request may include the name of a preferred consultant. The planning board shall exercise reasonable discretion to determine whether such a request is warranted. That is an option if you want.
If it comes from Sarah, then that's fine with me because she's gonna do the same
Third party,
thing.
she's representing you. That's,
She's representing the government.
okay, well, we're a different entity.
Yeah, I'd argue that the USDA doing a report wouldn't be, it'd still qualify as third party. I think the timeline, if the town's gonna state they need that report in hand before a decision is made,
Then yes,
we've heard,
That's
you know,
obviously the
it's a pretty long range of time that, there is no time limit
right.
on that process.
You do have a time limit to give you a decision, so time is of
Yeah, on
the
this,
essence.
correct.
Yep.
Yes, I think we're at 61 days
So
today.
This one, correct, yeah.
About that. So 676 4B does state that for third-party review, the 65-day period for the board's action on an application shall be extended 45 days to provide the board adequate time to identify a different consultant.
Yeah, from that date of request, or I think, yeah.
Yep.
Then you got overlapping. Yeah.
Right.
If that two scopes were removed, I guess the question is, if what you're gonna outlay for USDA, if that brings that cost down, is it better to just pay it, do it, but you're waiting 3 weeks? You're gonna go until next month's meeting.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Okay, that's the only option to mollify the scope, I think.
So what are we doing?
So I guess technically, I don't even think the board needs to poll themselves, but I guess we requested that they reconsider the vote, but I think we know, well, I don't know, I don't wanna assume. But
Reconsider the vote based on what? Waiting for the report from USDA?
it would be essentially a reconsidering it because we're not exceeding the 3,000 laying hen limit, which brings in state and federal regulation, which is one of the scope, I understand it's one of the scope items. And then the fact that the phase 2 was removed from the plan. I understand that was a development after the initial proposal. And then the fact that we are starting the process with the USDA, which would result, so it kind of would overlap with some of this process. So it would essentially be, I guess the ask is, if the board would reconsider the vote, if so, we would accept that there would need to be a condition on the approval, if we got to that point, that required that that USDA process is completed and a full copy is presented to the town, which makes it part of the site plan process and would be a condition.
I think the
of
fact
site
that you don't have a timeline from the USDA to provide this report and that we are obligated to give you a decision with a certain time period is gonna negate
Well, understood, and that's why the proposal was that it would become a condition, and I accept that, like, the board would have to discuss that if it's a reasonable condition, so that's just, I think that's part
Correct
of
me
it.
if I'm wrong, the more experienced members here, if we gave him the go ahead to build and he doesn't do the USDA testing, would there be a cease and desist? I mean, is there a way to stop after it, just let him build his building, but we could stop him later? Wouldn't it behoove him to keep him?
He doesn't have to do the USDA.
If it was
testing. It's not
conditioned,
part-
even if it was
If it's
conditioned?
conditioned,
If we condition it and he doesn't do it, within whatever, we'll give him couldn't we put a cease and desist on the operation?
You don't need it.
His building's not the problem for us, it's what he's doing inside the building, that's the problem for us.
Cease and desist exists because he has a building someplace other than where it should be. So he needs to move the building. That has to happen. That's a cease and desist. And that's why it came to us. Now, unfortunately, there's more stuff associated with it that gets into I think what we're into with the third-party reviews and that kind of stuff. If the present building that is not situated correctly gets moved to someplace else, I think we can go forward with that portion of this and leave the rest of it to either the USDA, third party, however you wanna choose to do that. But the conditions would have to be pretty bulletproof, I think, in this particular case.
Mr. Stebbins, are you referring, what structure are you referring to that's the cease?
The one that's,
To the side?
yeah,
That doesn't have the cease and desist on it.
No,
That's been confirmed by code enforcement that that's a temporary structure and not, there's no zoning action.
It was
The cease and
building.
desist
It was
was the
for
fact that some of
years
the,
ago.
that there was storage containers
okay,
placed on the site. But yeah, I just wanna make sure that was clear, that
all right.
where they're currently housed is not part of that, but.
But the idea, as you say on this map now, is that it's
That's
gonna
going away.
move to that site.
It's being replaced, actually, it would come down. He
Yeah.
doesn't wanna keep that on the site.
There you
Yeah.
go.
that's what the
And
new
So
building
yes,
And I
is.
don't-
in a way.
I really don't care what happened with the piers and all that kind of stuff. It's really the fact that the building was over the setback lines.
No,
So we'd prefer it to be where he's proposing.
It is here. It is on
Yeah.
your,
yeah, no, it's a temporary structure with a setback line, it doesn't qualify as a structure, and that's been confirmed by code enforcement. It's shown on there because Dale asked and said, I know it's on the site, can you please just show a box for
and
it?"
I was
That
gonna ask for the same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Multiple times,
Yeah,
but
we're through the site plan process here because there's a site plan on the property and the RSA language states that the town does have site plan authority
correct.
over the building. So we're here for the new building. But as part of this, we are intending to take down that temporary
That's
structure.
what I got a cease and desist for.
It's-
The
it's-
new building is gonna incorporate 4 containers.
And those were placed on the
I
site.
was just working on the containers.
Yep.
And because they could possibly become part of a building, Dale said, stop. Until you get approved. So I stopped. I was just trying to hurry things up.
But
by
we're still
running
dealing with a
business.
temporary structure that doesn't need to be there, essentially.
It could stay there, but we don't want it to stay there. So that's a side, that's just part of the project.
Yeah,
That's just
that-
part of
I-
the proposal.
I wanted
That's always been part of the proposal.
to move that out of there anyway.
We don't wanna use it.
I wanna build a new building that's easier to maintain. It's easier to keep warm in the winter. It's better for everybody. It pulls me away from the Walders side. I thought this was gonna be a quick and simple, here you go, here's your fence. Let's move the building away from you so it's less offensive to you. I'll put in a real building so I can contain stuff, use the fans for what they're, and instead it's like I'm building nuclear weapons.
The part that I'm concerned about is the fact that he's already operating, there's no way to stop him for the amount of chickens he has.
Correct.
Right, so what he's asking for is a building from the planning board. As of right now, he could buy more chickens right now, and there's, I mean, within reason, and can the town stop him from buying another 200 chickens right now and put them in that screen house? So,
Apparently not.
I
because it
want
was-
to hear, yeah, I hear.
Well, then cease and desist for that.
The cease and desist for putting diamond piers in without a permit.
Yeah.
That was what the cease and desist, stop building the new coop is what the cease and desist was for.
But the building inspector was out there and I don't know, I don't
He,
get it.
he,
He's known
he
about
did
it.
tell me There's not a problem with the chickens. It's not a thing we can do.
Yeah, it's not a chicken thing.
So, I mean,
Well, that's because that's not his purview.
if we drag this,
Well, there's nothing in town that does it either, or state.
if we drag this out, at the end of the day, it would cost us legal. And he's going, I would assume he'd win to build the building. And the state doesn't care and the law doesn't care if he has whatever chickens he has now. We're shutting him down on what he could possibly buy in the future.
That's not at all what
No.
the number of chickens isn't anything to do with what we're
But he's currently-
discussing here.
So if he.
The main issue and the dragging the feet and,
That-
making
that-
things drag
that
out.
that was not the smart move. I agree with that. He should have just done what the board voted on. But my question is, if he came with his proposal saying, I just want a new home for the chickens I already have, would we be going through this?
I would contend yes, because the board did not approve the use, the poultry business.
But I thought
So
we
be-
received
so because-
confirmation that it doesn't require, the use doesn't require it.
It
The
does.
business never
His
came,
husband-
the business never came before the board as a site plan review, he just started doing it.
It's all part of the same business.
The one that
It's
was,
husbandry, it's.
the
part
one that
of
was
agriculture.
approved for your site was furniture making and lumbering.
Okay.
That's it.
So-
Chicken business wasn't part of it.
So is he technically running an illegal operation with his chickens right now?
Yes.
Come on, not.
So how come
That's
no one
not-
stopped him?
There's not
Nothing
even
in
a
the audience, thank
regulation.
you.
I'm really just asking questions, I'm not trying to, but, so how come he's not being stopped?
Can I ask one question? One simple question.
Let him answer that
All
one
right, no,
first. Yeah,
go ahead.
let's-
So
They're talking amongst themselves.
based on what we heard from legal counsel is that because of the way that our ordinances are written, the fact that agriculture is not called out as a prohibited use in the commercial industrial zone,
Right,
because of the fact that he is running an agricultural business, that basically we don't have, we as a board really have nothing to do with it.
We can't deny the use, but we have every right to regulate it.
Right.
And the business was started without any approval from the town. It was a furniture making business with a lumbering accessory use. That's what the application was for. That's what was approved in 2021. There's not a single mention of agriculture anywhere in the application, the minutes, or anything. They even had a debate on whether to approve it as a commercial use or an industrial use. Because commercial use has a 50-foot setback, I think, and industrial use has a 100-foot setback.
so.
They approved it as a commercial use. Agriculture was never approved. It was just started. Now he's here before us to add structures to grow the business. It's not just a structures review, it's the use of the structures. Perfect example. You put a square building on a site and you put a warehouse in there, that has certain impacts. You put a data center in there, it has different kinds of impacts. You have to review the use in addition to the structure itself. Both have impacts, both are regulated, both are the purview of the board.
This
So,
is why we called for a third-party review of the use, because this
I would,
board
yeah,
doesn't
I wish that was
have.
just done too, that would have.
yeah, because the structure, as he said all along, I mean, it's not much, it's not gonna create a massive amount of runoff or impervious surface. We've dealt with stuff like this before, you guys have dealt with bigger things before. So it's the use and the impacts that come from it.
Under the site plan review regs, I do believe that we have authority to review this site, the plan, the use, and the impacts of the use, and regulate those, and put conditions on those. And under the purposes, it says to provide for a safe, attractive development, guard against such conditions as would involve in danger and injury to health, safety, and welfare by reasons of inadequate drainage or conditions conducive to flooding on that property or that of another. Inadequate protection of groundwater quality is specifically cited in there. Undesirable preventable elements of pollution, noise, smoke, soot, particles, and other discharges into the environment which may prove harmful to persons and structures adjacent properties. We have no quality information to show that those conditions can or will be met and or have been met. He's had this illegally running chicken farm for 2 years without a BMT. ever done. I asked for a.
You stated illegal.
Provide
What-
that.
Yeah,
What law
I
is
think we
that?
need to
Just out of
stop.
curiosity.
What's that?
You're stating on to the public that it's illegal. What law is that? Just out of curiosity.
What's that?
You're just stating his operation's illegal at the moment. He's a chicken
Yeah,
farmer in
I'm-
Nottingham, New Hampshire.
Thank you, unapproved by the planning board. Okay.
So you're gonna retract the fact that it's illegal?
Yes, thank
Okay,
you,
thank
yes.
you.
So, and I think just to, I mean, it's been discussed before, but it's 674-32C, other general provisions under the RSA's, part 2. That's the language we reviewed at the conceptual, which I know not all the board members were there, and that was the gray area, and that's what gives, it says nothing in this subdivision, or 674-32B, which is the proceeding, which kind of defines portions of the agricultural uses, shall exempt new, reestablished, or expanded agricultural operations or activities from generally applicable building and site requirements. So we're here because the building, the new chicken house building, is clearly a structure, it alters the site plan. It's a new building. The use, there are two different things that are, the use can be established as new. It's obviously the related items. Where the chickens are housed currently is a temporary structure that doesn't actually require a building permit. And then the chickens are allowed to be on the site. So it's two permissible things, the use and where they're currently housed. It's because we're proposing this new structure, it's a permanent structure,
When
so-
was the board made aware that the chicken business would start? Because I understand you were approved in 2021.
Yep.
And then you started 2 years ago. At what point did the applicant come before the board to amend the site plan approval for the chicken poultry business?
There was no notice to the planning board because of the bringing of chickens is not prohibited. We've had confirmation that isn't allowed use. The use, it's just chickens on the site constitutes a use.
Right,
And then we have not built any new structures that require building permits associated with that use.
but we
This is the
regulate uses and structures.
But we've stated that this use is exempt under the state law for this zone.
Not from review. It's exempt from being prohibited. It's not exempt from review.
I think there's
Didn't
disagreement
you guys come in here
there.
about a year or two ago for conceptual?
What was that?
Weren't you guys in here for a year or two ago for a conceptual?
I was here.
And they were kind of welcomed with open arms with it. So I can kind of see the
2021 was,
confusion.
2021 was the original approval of what the two-story mixture, and it was furniture, lumbering, and essentially wood processing is on site. I mean, there's just plenty of, he produces, processes all of his own wood.
Yeah.
That was 2021, I think it was operational by 2022-3 at least. And then for this particular, what the board has been looking at on the plans, this was first presented to the board conceptually in February of this year.
Was it this year?
Yeah, it was before the change, that's why some of the members weren't at that conceptual.
I was like, I could have sworn we had the other, yeah.
The apartment was.
Yeah, it was two items, we came conceptually to talk about
Right.
the apartment, which we knew is, just based on past law in Nottingham, residential use has to go for a variance, so we went and got
Alright,
that
so that's why I
variance.
went before.
It was February of this year that this first kind of came before the town in this iteration in any capacity, so.
And I think the only reason we're looking at the use now is because there's a new building. If it's not,
I understand.
if it's not specifically a prohibited use, the fact that he started a chicken farm wouldn't have been reviewed by us because it's not prohibited, but the fact that now he wants the building, now we can take a look at the uses for that building, so.
I just feel like we're busting him over semantics. I feel like if he came to us saying he wants to build a new building for his existing situation, I think what happened was it got blown up online, and now it's got a big following. We're really beating him up. Now, I'm not saying he should, absolutely, there should be baselines, there should be studies, he should be following the law to the letter of the word. But to stop him completely cold, I think that's violating his rights a little bit, just my
We're
personal
not
opinion.
stopping him completely cold. What we've done at the last meeting was require more information for this board so that we can actually act upon it with any type of,
I know.
you know? We're not trying to slow anything down. If we had that third-party review right here, we'd have suggested conditions that we could let him go get his stuff done, right? Like, we're not slowing any part of
No,
this
you're not
process
wrong.
down, and we have a duty to the town to do our due diligence.
You're right.
I don't have.
Sorry for raising my voice.
No, I hear you.
This is just a little frustrating because I feel like we're going in circles about this stuff. This board has voted to have a third-party technical review done. Are we going to have it done or are we not? Are we rescinding that vote or are we going to have this
I
done?
haven't heard anybody make a motion.
I haven't either, and I don't know why we would have voted at the last meeting to have this third-party review done if we didn't actually want it done.
I think it's on the applicant to either say he's going to do it or not.
It's gotta be.
So balls in your
Call
court.
for another third-party
consultant.
reviewer.
Right, and the USDA NRCS is not the equivalent to this third-party technical review that will give us conditions on which we can approve the application.
Or the timeline.
Or the timeline, right. And so your option is either to come up with a different third-party technical review that matches the similar type of scope that we have done here so that this board can get the information it needs, or you're not gonna do it, and then we have to proceed the way that we have to proceed.
So it's two options. It's either revise the scope, obviously the way the revised scope with the numbers, it will go down. Or you say, no, I don't wanna do it.
I think they want to even revisit too.
No, I think they would. I think that's what I think. Is that amenable? I mean, it's gonna cause a time, where we're gonna be pushed a month at least if we authorize it tomorrow, but you would be required to provide. Blair, just so I confirm process. Escrow has to be put up
Well,
prior
I
to.
gotta say one thing. I've got live chickens that are at risk here.
That's your choice to have gotten those live chickens. That is not a,
We
that
have
is
live
not leverage
residents that
against
are
this
living in
board.
this town too.
Okay.
that We're here to
Okay.
protect.
Yeah,
Yep,
just,
that's fine. That's fine.
just so I,
Just have 'em-
it's,
have 'em-
so it's, what?
yeah, just, I'll take it.
Yeah, please.
Withdraw the application without prejudice at this
That
point.
would probably be your best option before
That's
this
an
board
option.
takes action.
Doesn't get us back to where we need to be, or where you wanna go.
The timeline does,
No.
the timeline, that will end the timeline
I
issue.
think the applicant has spoken. I think we're gonna keep going back and forth on this.
One last question, then I'll leave it up to the Wade to make a decision. If, I mean, I've kind of heard the board, we asked if there would be a reconsider vote. I think it would be a no, is from what I'm gathering, just polling what I'm hearing. Is the board amenable to considering a modification to the scope since we've said we're not doing phase two? And these might not be big changes to the end number. But I mean, obviously, he is trying to limit some of his costs. These are scopes that are now potentially not necessary. The phase two analysis, and then I understand there might still be some sort of regulatory threshold, but we have stated that we want to stay at the 3,000 or less. We do not, this proposal does not plan to trigger state or federal oversight, so there would be a modification to two scopes. So it would obviously possibly present a reduction in scope that obviously would still need to escrow on that. But if you don't wanna consider that, that would be, the question is, would the board even consider modifying the scope? If not, then I guess it would proceed.
I mean, I think if there is no phase two planned at this point, then that point in the scope could go away because it would be kind of moot at that point. But I think every other aspect of this third-party review is what the board voted to have done. And I don't think getting rid of the phase two evaluation is gonna save a whole lot, but if that is what will get, that moving for you, then great.
So no
Board
change.
isn't here to stop you from doing this. This board is here to get the information it needs to make an informed decision on your application.
I will say my only concern though, if there's gonna be no modification to the regulatory analysis, the third-party consultant would potentially be looking at regulations relative to this project that we would never be falling under in terms of state or federal oversight or other, at that point you do trigger additional hard and fast requirements of the site in terms of operations. We would not be triggering those, but those would be part of.
Phase two.
Nope, so there's two different scopes. There's regulatory threshold analysis that would look at FDA egg safety rule oversight kicking in at 3,000 plus laying hens. We do not want to trigger the 3,000 plus. And then any relevant NHDS regulations. Again, there's state regulations between 3 and 15,000. So that would be analyzing regulations or providing recommendations on regulations that we would never fall under.
I know the
That's why I
intent
bring up that
currently
point.
is not to go beyond that, but say in a couple of years, the success of the business is such that going above that is what is desired, then this board no longer has that option to put any extra, odor, mitigation, containment, vector control, things like that might be, something the board should consider. So I imagine that aspect will give us conditions that would be required for, up to 3,000, and then if it were to go above that, there might be a couple extra conditions that if the business goes beyond that, certain other things would kick in on the town's part as well.
Could we,
That's my opinion anyway.
Wouldn't that potentially then, if we
So-
said 3,000, then we would just, our site plan wouldn't be applicable once we go over that?
Wouldn't 3,000 require
That-
a second
No,
building?
yes.
We don't know that, because we're
So,
not
yeah, we could
approving
stop
that
them
number.
at that, because you would need a second building per state requirements.
So if I can
You
just,
wouldn't be able to put more than what he's proposing in one building.
And even if he
You
did,
would
we
need a
could,
second.
we could make an approval subject to the fact that he can only have 3,000.
I don't know that we can
I don't think.
do
we can.
that. I think the state RSA's don't allow us to control anything about the amount of chickens, which is why the site plan review and the conditions on odor, pests, things like that become important.
If I can just point out though, on that first part, the regulatory threshold analysis, it just says identify and document the state and federal regulatory thresholds. So if it comes back that he's well below that, then there's nothing there. It's, so if I was doing, for example, a site plan, I would look at the relevant, town zoning and subdivision and site plan regulations. And I would need to know where I'm working within before I can, reasonably do anything. And I think that's kind of what that's saying, is just saying that I'm going to take a look at what those regulations are and figure out what bracket we're looking at.
That shouldn't put an undue burden on, to just look at the regulations. That's all that it's requiring.
So at this point, I think it's up to you. We could.
So I gotta put this off for 45 days.
It would be, nope, I assume the 21-day threshold, the 21-day, if you agree to just move forward, it would be an escrow, this is what I was gonna ask, escrow has to be put up for the, I guess there's a range there, would be just, escrow has to be put up before you will sign the proposal to the town. And then it's 21 days from signing, so you'd have to put up an, that's how any of these peer reviews work, it's escrow's put up for this value. Then the town authorizes, and then it was 21, is that what it was?
21 business days.
21 business days, so that would put, you would be pushed until the first meeting in July at the earliest, like, I guess, you have to move fast now in order to get the 21. To get to the next, it'd be the next meeting, the first July meeting that they would even have, potentially a report back. Otherwise,
If they deny that, that's my best case scenario, to be honest.
it's your choice. So yes, sir, no to this, the third party. Concern is the third party, I think they're.
Let's say,
No, it was, this whole time frame assumes he can do this work within the 21 days. The 21 days is all of these sections.
Blair, would you say we're at 61 days now with the application?
Yes, thereabouts.
Yeah, so that'd have to be extended also.
Yeah, we'd have to continue it to
Based
July
on the
8th
reason.
meeting.
Yeah.
oh yeah, but the ballot's gonna be,
We should.
I'm assuming like crazy.
Do you want to do public comment?
Yeah, so while you two deliberate about that, maybe we'll have public comment.
Yeah, that's
just to
fine.
get
Thank
that aspect done.
Let's get that done. What's that?
Tracy, did we receive any written public comment before this, this meeting for this case? Okay,
I,
all
my
right,
husband, he emailed it on Sunday, I have a copy of it.
okay, if you wanna bring it up here, read it into the record, that's okay,
I must have missed it.
all good. Okay, well, we read in, okay. It's 7:45, I'm gonna open the public comment for, case, 26007. First, written testimony is from Nathan Fury dated Sunday, June 7th. I have previously provided comments stating my opposition to the Precision Coat lumber application. I am writing to add additional comments in light of the meeting on May 13, 2026. In reviewing the agricultural expansion plan phase 2 document by Jones and Beach engineers for this case, it states in the section on drainage that ongoing maintenance of the detention basin is needed to ensure proper function and that drainage ponds must be maintained by a local government designated group such as an HOA or an individual assigned to the responsibility. Has this assignment of responsibility been made, and if so, to whom? If it is the business owner and not a third party, is there some sort of reporting structure needed to ensure this maintenance is being done? If this is simply self-reported by the business owner, do we trust such owner to be diligent in maintaining the detention basin in a way that limits runoff, given there is already a history of a cease and desist? Further, it was clear from the discussion on May 13th that the property in town needs to be prepared for more than the 3,000 chickens consistently stated by the applicant. First, from my understanding of the applicant's statements, the 3,000 number refers to the hens and that roosters would also be needed to generate eggs that do not contribute to the 3,000 number before the state becomes involved. This need for roosters could mean hundreds of additional animals at the site. Second, from my understanding, the applicant would have to self-report when more than 3,000 hens plus an undisclosed number of roosters was reached. And I remind again, this is an applicant who has already received a cease and desist for actions on the property. Third, it seemed clear to me that the applicant had longer-term ambitions in the future, and it was unclear to me what role the planning board would have if such increases were to occur. Given that we are not really discussing 3,000 chickens, but more, what is the maximum number of chickens that the provided design plans adequate for? It is clear that not all the best management practices for agriculture are being followed, but even for the ones that are they suited for greater than 3,000 chickens? Even if the planning board does not have say in terms of the chickens, this reality needs to be considered in terms of the environmental impacts, odors, etc. that have been voiced. Thank you for your time in considering my comments. Okay. Now I'm going to open it up to public comment here. If you'd like to come up and comment, please raise your hand. Yep, over here. And when you approach, please state your name and address for the board and the record.
Faith Levesque, 1 Tremblay Drive. I don't understand how an existing logging sawmill business in a commercial industrial zone can humanely also be an agricultural area, understanding that Nottingham does not have, at this time, current regulations. Additionally, the property, as it looks now, is an eyesore along Route 4. It has been said that there will be a free-ranging grassy area when the chickens, which increases to 3,000, gets moved to this new building. But what exists now at the temporary structure for the 1,600 chickens that are currently there? I'm wondering if there can be another site walk to see the current conditions now, as we only got to see the proposed new coop area when we did the site walk. Water is being discussed for this proposal, and I'm sure that Precision Cut Lumber LLC is aware of a potential data center wanting to go in not too far from his property, which will affect the water supply. That's all I had to say, but I did have a few other questions for what came up. The reason why he has 16,000 or 1,600 chickens now is the town doesn't regulate it, so it's legal. I'd like to know how one counts chickens. He's going from he's currently has 1,600, he's going to 3,000, so that's an additional 1,400. How do you count chickens? And the other comment I wanted to make was 3 weeks ago, when we did leave this meeting and it was discussed that we needed, that you voted on, a third-party review. I personally didn't think 2 weeks was gonna be enough. He's actually had 3, because we had the whole thing 2 weeks ago. So I just wanted to, he's lost 3 weeks.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
testimony. Others wishing to speak? Back there, yep.
Well, she found it, right?
Hi, Laura Hilbert, 15 Strawberry Lane. So I really appreciate the third-party review, the vote for that. I think that does consider the neighboring properties, our health and our welfare, our water. One of the things tonight that Wade is asking for is the technical review to be modified because he wants to remove phase 2. But he has said phase 2 is for a hatchery. So he said that doesn't change the number of chickens. So I don't think we should change the third-party review simply because he wants to get rid of the hatchery. He's not changing the number of chickens. And that was what he had said. So I'm just asking that if this board is considering changing that third-party review, please don't change it because he wants to get rid of phase 2. It doesn't actually change the health implications possible by the number of chickens he has. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Others wishing to speak?
Hi, Tammy Leshner. Just a brief point of clarification. The 3,000 is laying hens. It is not total chickens. It is not turkeys or other birds, which are addressed on his website as he has turkeys and ducks. It is also not birds that are sold for meat. That is a different threshold. I provided the planning board with documentation of that, but we just keep talking about 3,000 as if that's some sort of cap. And it obviously the total number of birds, it addresses the use and the impacts of that use. So just don't want us to get like stuck on this narrow definition as though there's a hard limit on 3,000. I agree it would be difficult to account, and that's a whole other story, but the 3,000 only applies to laying hens. It doesn't apply to total birds. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Others wishing to speak?
I have a question. Is that okay?
You could come up, yep. Please state your name and address.
My name is Sandra Hall. I own property in North Nottingham. Okay, and my question is so he has a temporary building and you're allowed to do whatever you want with a temporary building? Like a temporary building, what's the difference between a temporary building and, like, I know if you put a cement slab down, so if you know those white tubes that you get from plumbing and you put a big shed on it and you can roll that building wherever, that's kind of a temporary, right? See what I'm saying? That's temporary, and the permanent is when you have.
What are you asking?
Well, because I'm trying to figure out.
Just to clarify, this isn't a question and answer session either. This is for public comment to comment on the application itself. So you can ask the question to the board, but it's not a back and forth session right now. We'll address questions that were asked.
Okay, I was
after
just
the public comment.
wondering, when it comes to this chicken, okay, these chickens, and I just wanted to know, I mean, if he's trying to go from temporary to what I don't understand what he's trying to do. He's got a temporary building and he's trying to go to a permanent building, and what the difference is. That's all I wanted to know. What's the difference in your?
Building code issue. the definition of a temporary versus permanent structure. So the building inspector would look at something and determine if it meets the definition of a temporary structure or whether it meets the definition of a
Okay.
a permanent structure. This board doesn't handle that. We handle the regulations like site plan, subdivision, zoning ordinance.
Okay, I know the town's, like you said, is all in the, and I think he should just do what you guys ask him to do, and that's my opinion, but anyway, just do what you ask and that's it. Okay, but I just wanted to know what the temporary was versus the permanent.
Yes.
Thank you for your testimony. Others wishing to speak?
Are you gonna read the thing?
I will after the rest, after everybody's been given a chance. Anybody else?
My name is Sean Parento. I'm the owner of Custom Welding and Fabrication that's in a butter. Recently, he's put an electric fence right along our parking lot. Like right along our parking lot. I don't think he's ever had it surveyed to even put the fence there. I've already complained, nobody's come to even check it out for us. I don't know what to do. It's really aggravating. The other day, one of my employees saw a frog stuck in it, just getting zapped. It's just not appropriate for a business that I see. And along here, this wood line, this is where the chickens like to hang out. And just along here, there's also a ditch that's supposed to run off from the building here, goes underneath and goes along and underneath, and that's where a lot of the ducks and chickens all hang out. And he's also got a couple ditches that run into those ditches where all the runoff from all this chicken shit goes into. So that's just, like I said, I've had told people to come and take a look at it for themselves and nobody has, and that's the way we're at.
Thank you for your testimony. Others wishing to speak? Going once.
I'm Deborah Parento, and I used to own Custom Welding. I second my son's emotion. They've had a terrible time, and they've tried to be cordial and they try to be polite. That's how we always have been all the years. I've run it 30 years before him, and we've never had these kind of issues. So we thank you for that third party. More information, the better to make decisions. In proper protocol, that's all I ask is proper protocol. I love business, I have no problem with it, but you must follow certain rules and regulations. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you for your testimony. Okay, others wishing to speak? Going once, going twice? Okay, we've got one more letter here to read. It's from Jeff Hill, dated May 22nd. My name is Jeff Hill. I live at 5 Lincoln Drive. I am writing in opposition to the site survey waiver request by Precision Cut Lumber for the proposed chicken barn at 123 Old Turnpike Road. This property contains multiple wetlands. Current conditions and current impacts site-wide must be considered in order to determine whether granting a waiver would protect the public interest as required under RSA 674-44 and Nottingham's own regulations. The applicant's own site plan shows the proposed composting area sitting atop a designated wetland. There is also a 2002 dredge and fill permit on this property, but the current plan does not show where that dredge and fill occurred. That is a major gap. The board cannot assess cumulative impacts, wetland recovery, or proximity to the proposed barn without knowing the location of past alterations. This information is essential for any responsible review. For these reasons, I respectfully ask the board to deny the waiver and require a complete site survey that includes wetland delineation, buffer mapping, drainage pathways, and the exact location of the 2002 dredge and fill area. This information is necessary for an environmentally responsible decision. Thank you. Okay, it's 7:59. I am closing the public hearing. I'll invite the applicant's representative.
Was there any specific questions the board felt I didn't address or wanted further expanded upon based on public comment?
I thought the dredge and fill thing was interesting. Do you know about that at all?
Yeah, we talked about it at the last meeting a little bit. It was an after the fact dredge fill permit around 2002. It was
That
the
one, okay.
previous owner.
Okay.
That permit was in place with what you see developed now on the site. So the original site plan was granted with a waiver. Essentially, the 3 out of 4 waivers requested were the same waivers that the current site plan was given by the board.
It wasn't out back in the T area, if you will?
No.
No, there was, those roadways to the back have always existed through the
Yeah.
property. Like where the wood stockpile, well, where you've seen the 4 kind of containers set up now has historically been used, it was brush. It was used as, materials, the previous owner used to, it was like a sandbox from, if you go back in aerials, it was material. Wade used it for log stockpiling when he would go get his.
But it wasn't
wood.
part of dredge and fill?
No, and it was
Okay.
not part of the dredge and fill, but the dredge and fill has been, the board took action originally, and that was one of the reasons that there was not an updated certified wetland survey at that time, because of what was,
After,
I wanna say permitted, what was after the fact permitted was that he disturbed so much soil, taking stuff out, putting stuff in.
Yep.
There is no natural soil, or it'd be hard to find and determine for sure this is natural down to what elevation. Anything that was cleared, pretty much, it's within the 4 acres. The front 4 acres pretty much to where the lots split and goes wider.
Right.
That was historically always been cleared or maintained as brush. I mean, it was allowed to grow up over the years, but if you go back on aerial, there was always activity happening on the back of this area. And then I'll just clarify too, because I heard at the end, the wetlands shown on the overall, I've switched this to a more recent, this is a 2024 aerial. The previous was a 2003, I think, aerial. That one was shown, because that allowed us to use what had a National Wetland Inventory underlay. That National Wetland Inventory is a soil-based mapping of potentially hydric or wet soils. That's why they kind of look like blobs of purple. You can't take them as jurisdictional wetlands. They have to be determined by a certified wetland scientist. And certainly I'd say from my professional opinion, it's 50-50 if they're accurate within 100 feet. It is very site-based. So I just want to state that it has not been found as a designated wetland. And that area where the compost manure has historically, that access always existed to the back. That area that we're putting that composting area next to has always been historically there. So we're not, say, filling or disturbing additional area. There really shouldn't be any tree clearing needed for what is on this plan. There's no large trees within this footprint. There'll be some brush cleanup and small sapling, but that's it. And I guess, I think is there anything else that
If I,
the board?
I want to just clarify for some of the public comment as well, that the purview of this board is site plan review for building and the proposed use of that building. This board doesn't control the number of animals on a site. It doesn't control enforcement of boundary violations, things like that. This board approves plans based on what's presented to us. It's it's code enforcement that takes care of some of those things, or other state entities that that falls back on. So I just wanted to clarify that for some of those comments.
Okay. The next thing, I think before, if we want to table the third party, I got some feedback from Wayne when we were talking. I guess I see it as potentially one of the bigger implications to the project is if the board, how the board will vote on what I'll call the first 3 waiver requests that relate basically to base survey and plan elements, complete survey of the parcel. Those first 3 waivers were part of the original approval, so obviously we didn't, when preparing for this project, we knew historically we were working in the area previously approved, so we didn't go and survey the back 25 acres or so. These would obviously have pretty large cost and mostly time implications if we were required to do this, so I guess I would ask if the board's amenable. I know at some point you'll have to take action on the waiver requests. I've presented them. I can go one by one if the board would like, or if
The survey that was done previously that you're basing this off of, you mentioned at the last meeting that you'd need to talk with Mr. Landry about getting his surveyor seal on that. Where is that at?
Without a full survey, like, if he didn't do it for the full boundary, my understanding is the full property was surveyed under the previous owner. Time-wise, it would be hard to find a surveyor that would just take what they did previously over 20 years ago and recertify it. So there would be even a cost associated with Pete certifying any portion of this boundary lot line. And the original site plan did not require, that was one of the approvals. My stamp goes on it from an engineering perspective, but it was not required to supply a surveyor's stamp on it. That was a waiver that the board granted. So that's why we've requested the survey. I mean, I guess it goes with the first one, surveyed property lines. If there's no requirement to do that, there wouldn't be a need for a surveyor's stamp. So again, those first three waivers for full boundary survey, existing topography survey of the full lot, and natural features survey, we specifically discussed about the wetlands and the fact that the after the fact permit would compromise any sort of wetland sign certification now. Those were all part of the original approval as well, and obviously we're coming back in for an amendment, but those would, I think, have bigger implications than if we just think of a timeline for the third-party review, so that's why I wanted to see if the board would pivot. And you'll have to take action on the waiver request
An
anyways.
amendment to the site plan review that was done in 2021?
The town doesn't have a specific amendment, but if it
You don't view
qualifies
this as a new site plan review for the building and everything else?
I don't think you can have two, I mean, the town might do it from an organizational perspective, that they carry two site plans, but there's currently a site plan on the property. I don't think you can overlay, I think from an administrative perspective, I know documents are handled under a new SPR number. But we've always treated this as I think our applications documents talk to it as an amendment to that site plan. I know this town doesn't have an application for an amendment process, some towns do. But that's more of, I guess, a structure of the application. It doesn't change the checklist that's required, it's just what the application is, yeah.
So before we get into the waivers, we need to resolve the third-party review, because we need to know if that's going forward or not, because if it's not, then we're kind of at an impasse, so that's kind of gonna be
In my discussion during public hearing my feeling is that after that discussion we had, potential denial of one of these waivers would potentially be more of a burden. Like he'd have to reassess if he can make a decision on the third party. Because if he doesn't get approval on one of these waivers, I know the ballpark figure, it's a very expensive cost to survey 31 acres and do a full topography survey. It would cost him far more than I think what he spent on any sort of consulting up to this point, including the original permit. So it's more of a cost implication for him if these waivers aren't approved. So that's why I was asking if the board, but we do think depending on how the waivers go, we did discuss the third party.
So there's not even gonna be a surveyor's signed seal and stamp for a boundary?
There's a record plan on file for this property. Let's see if I can find it. It's a 2003 survey. It was done by Lander Survey, so it's a 23-year-old survey. It's on file, Plan D 30799 at the registry, and that's what that boundary. So the boundary that's shown here was provided by that surveyor, and we are showing the boundary in reference to that recorded boundary plan. But if I asked to get a CAD file shared with me,
did he do a full 31-acre boundary survey?
That recorded plan, my understanding, that recorded plan was a full boundary survey of the property for the previous owner.
But you said there was a waiver?
So the original site plan for what is currently there, the two-story building, was granted a waiver by this board to move forward. There was no requirement for a surveyor stamped plan. I think on the plan on file here at the town does not have a stamp on it.
So you said Landry did that survey in 2023? I thought you said it was
2003.
2003.
So at this time, do we know where buildings are relative to lot lines and where things are actually fitting on here, where drainage and proposals? I think we're missing a lot of information. I think that we kind of need this third-party technical review first so that we could determine what we might need as far as drainage or areas or, you know, whatever.
As far as it goes, those sorts of waivers for, you know, backlands, are very, very common.
I agree with
And
that.
the fact that there is already a recorded plan showing the boundaries, they're relying on that, and, you know, they've obviously done their survey work in that area where they are working.
And there's a
that
septic
would be
plan done
under-
with ties to boundaries and so. the
Right,
septic-
and so those would be under the septic designers and under Ian's engineering license. The boundary is the boundary. I mean, it's recorded in the registry.
Yeah, I mean, the board has seen this request and has approved it for other sites. It's nice to see an up-to-date stamped survey, but
It's only 20 years old.
23.
My concern is wetlands. If they did wetlands 23 years ago, do those change over time? Do they become larger?
The part of
You know.
the parcel that's under, you know, that's going to be modified right now, it's already been dredged and filled by the previous landowner. So any wetlands that were there at the time are gone now.
Right.
Like, they've been destroyed.
What
And
about
there's
like the
no-
drainage ditch down the side here that we hear about?
That's
Which
not a
is-
wetland, though. That's a,
Right.
that's a
Man-made.
different matter. So what they're asking is not to need to delineate the
We're not
wetlands
impacting
on
that
this
either,
part of the
so.
site because the wetlands have already been destroyed by the past owner, which there is a NHDES after the fact permit showing that that is the case.
And the technical review will take a look at that drainage anyway. They're gonna look at any
Right.
adverse conditions on the
Groundwater
property, so that'll be
infiltration.
covered.
So I think we could at least handle the first three waivers, and take a vote on those.
I will make a motion to accept the first waiver as written for survey of the entire parcel. Do you want to do them all at once, or?
No.
You can form your motion however you want, but maybe taking them one at a time would be better.
I'm assuming taking them one at a
Yeah.
time. So, the first waiver as written for survey of the entire parcel.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion from Mr. Griswold, a second from Ms. DeGeorge. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unopposed? Okay, so that passes, that waiver has been granted. Waiver request number 2.
I will make the motion to accept waiver request number 2 for site features? Or is it the wetlands one?
Topography.
Topography.
Full topography.
As written.
Motion, is there a second? There's a motion on the floor.
I'm sorry, go
Is
ahead.
there a second?
Second.
I'll second.
I'm trying to figure out, is this for just the back parcel as the other one was?
The first one was for the entire parcel to be surveyed. This one is essentially allowing the prior survey to be used.
Okay, all right. I'm with you.
Especially since the area, I'll just add some color, the area that we're developing has been natural grade, he just mowed it and.
Yep, okay.
I don't have the motion, is the third motion about the wetlands?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You voted, Chris, right? Okay.
Yes, that's fine.
All right, waiver request 3, waiver request 2 was granted, so waiver request 3.
But this is the first 3 on the list, right?
Yeah, sorry, there's.
Yeah, right,
There's
not
two
waiver
things.
request 3, number 2.
Just wanna make sure we're not.
This is related to the
We're doing
requirement for a
both, yeah.
wetland
Wetland survey.
wetland certification, basically, on the plan.
And so as we've discussed, it's already been dredged and filled, and there's a NHDES after the fact permit that was issued for that, and it would be essentially impossible to properly delineate any wetlands on the subject part of the parcel.
I'll make a motion to, accept waiver request number 3 as written.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Mr. Griswold. Any further discussion?
Yes, please.
Yep.
I have concerns about the water runoff and other things that might be identified by this technical review, and that waiving and not even knowing where a wetland could or is on the lot today, never mind what was there 23 years ago and what somebody filled in and applied for an after the fact. What is there today? I know on a project that, another project, they are requiring an update on the wetland flagging because they do change over time. After like 2 years, I don't remember, I don't know if we have a time limit on the currency of any sort of prior wetland flagging or whatever, but I think it's a bad idea until we get this technical review to see if there are wetland impacts that we need to be more sensitive about.
Any further discussion?
Wet flags for DES, I believe they require new flags after, I wanna say 10 years?
It's AOT, it's 5.
5 years, okay.
Wetland septics, they're not technically wetlands, but they can flag their own for the purpose of wet soils.
Right.
Yeah.
And what was the date of that, that after the fact permit?
It was 23, correct?
No,
Or 2003.
I think the permit was 2002, the survey, 2002, 2003. I think it's a 2002 number when they started it. It probably was issued in 2003 because it's from when they start the project. So, the after the fact has a 2002 job number. I believe it was issued in 2003.
So 23 years ago, and Chris, you're worried about what existing wetlands or what wetlands have developed
What
since that
conditions
time?
are 23 years later? Yes, things change. And especially given the potential impact from chicken manure runoff, et cetera. Chickens generate supposedly 8 pounds of waste a month, and 3,000 chickens is 24,000 pounds, 12 tons of chicken waste, and how is that all contained? I just don't really understand that.
That's
Kind of beyond what
No,
the
this
waiver
is,
request
this
is.
is relevant. I almost died because I ate tainted lettuce that came from a tainted pool of waste from nearby poultry or farm animals, and I'm sensitive to it, so I'm sorry.
Okay.
Could we modify the waiver request to only look at the wetlands within, a certain range?
The disturbed area, I think that would be, where they're.
I mean,
I think
it's already on the site plan.
that's the
why-
problem is if we're looking at the disturbed area, that's the area covered under the after the fact permit. So I
Right.
couldn't tell you if it's a wetland or not because there's so much excavation, refill, moving material.
Which is one of the reasons why I was okay with this, because of the fact that where they're doing the work is where it has already been disturbed. So it's really impossible to tell if there are wetlands right there. And what is happening in the back 30 acres is kind of irrelevant.
I concur with that, Glenn, that they're not doing anything back there, but we still have this heavy usage on the front, so 3, 4,
That's
5
what
acres.
the third party review is gonna help us look at. This waiver request is just for having any wetland delineation done in the front part of the parcel when all the wetlands already got destroyed 20 years ago.
Can we waive that after we get this third party review so that we can determine if we do in fact need to look further or not?
The only thing, I think my waiver request is specifically for the certification of a wetland scientist. You're not gonna, the area that we're disturbing, the wetland scientist is gonna there is no wetlands because of that certification. Their certification doesn't discuss some of those other items. I think the third party is gonna touch upon that, the potential perimeter impacts, but this request is specifically for a certified wetland scientist certification for the purpose of the subject area.
Because of the fact that it's already disturbed, the wetland scientist is gonna go, I don't know.
If you had been on the sidewalk, you'd see that there's no wetlands in that part of the parcel.
Alright, well, I'm hearing about a drainage ditch down the side that's sitting there with water in it with pictures that we saw, and it seems like.
Which doesn't count as a
I was gonna say,
wetland.
drainage doesn't automatically trigger as a
I-
wetland.
It's a, yeah.
I don't know, I had a long time ago, and I had a drainage ditch that was clearly man-made, and they said, look, there's a wetland plant growing it, that's a wetland, and denied a driveway crossing on this because it was a man-made ditch that became a wetland, so I don't know what
Okay.
happened in the last 23 years.
It is
on the
8:20, and I wanna just go through this motion, please.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, that waiver request has been granted as well, and I think we'll hold off on waiver request number 3, number 2.
Sorry.
For now. So, back to the third-party technical review. How are we going to proceed? Again, it's 8:20. I would like to get this wrapped up.
Third-party report, they need a third-party report before they vote on conditional
So I
approval.
got, attorney's just told me, he says, without them, I think it's something that actually has been for.
Had plenty of time to discuss this. Could we please make a decision on this?
Have them come back at
Okay.
later time, tonight?
If you official approval. Based on
I don't mind doing a third party, that's fine, but I spending $4,000 for them to tell me no.
That's not the purpose of it, it's just a guidance tool, but I think we've heard enough from the board that I hear what their concerns are, and it's a tool to, it's just specifically a tool to guide on potential conditions of approval, which would be discussed with us at the meeting anyway, so there'll be an item of discussion, so.
So, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so given that, I think it's time that we continue this case. We were discussing before, timeline for that third-party review to be done would probably put us at the first meeting in July 8th.
Yep.
Does that work? Okay.
But make a motion to continue this to July 8th at a regular scheduled meeting.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Second from Mr. Ryan. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Carries unanimously. All right, thank you. We'll see you at July 8th meeting.
Thank you.
Okey dokey. First public hearing has been continued. Now we are on to case 26012, subdivision Lagrange, 60 Ledge Farm Road, a scenic road, application from Peter Landry of Landry Surveying LLC on behalf of Daniel F. Lagrange, requesting a 2-lot conventional subdivision. The property is located at 60 Ledge Farm Road in Nottingham, New Hampshire, and is identified as tax map number 58, lot number 6. Ledge Farm Road is a scenic road. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, for the record, Peter Landry, representing the owner, Paula True, who's in attendance, as well as the applicant, Dan Lagrange. And again, the lot is located Ledge Farm Road. We're looking at currently a 8.9 acre parcel with an existing 1880 farmhouse and barn. We're looking to divide that piece into 2 lots, one containing the existing dwellings at around 2.5 acres, and then a remaining woodlot that is 6.5 acres. The 6.5 acre lot, proposed new lot, has 200 foot of frontage, and the remaining land, or the with the house, has 553 feet of frontage. The monuments, the new monuments have been set since we've submitted the application in May, and they will be denoted on the updated plan. Currently, we've submitted for state subdivision approval on the house lot because it's under 5 acres, and that's under review at this point. The wetlands, as required by zoning and subdivision regs, have been done by a certified wetland scientist, Cynthia Belquist of Alton, and the wetlands are delineated on the plan. The wetland A series, which is in the, kind of the middle of the, or the back of the proposed lot, you'll note, we had that looked at for vernal pool designation. That's also that is designated as a vernal pool. That buffer, that wetland has the 25-foot natural buffer that the town has in their wetland conservation district, and it shows a 50-foot structure setback around it. The test pits, we've done numerous test pits throughout the area for testing. The new lot has the 2 test pits in the 4K, and when we dug test pits on the house lot, we ended up with a configuration with 1 test pit in the 4K, which meets the state requirement, but the town prefers or requires 2 test pits. So we put in a waiver for that second test pit in lieu of ledge probes, which are shown on the plan, to indicate that we have deep soil in that area. So there is that one waiver. It was brought up in the introduction that Ledge Farm Road is a scenic road, which entails the public hearing that we're at, and that designation should be added to the plan. I see now it's variable width public way, and we're gonna have to add scenic to that. So, this plan will also, and final plan, have my septic stamp and my land surveyor's seal, as well as I mentioned Cynthia, the wetland scientist, and she can see on top of the plan, she's got numerous notes that delineate her methodology, how she delineated the wetlands. All the abutters are shown on the plan. One characteristic on this new lot is the driveway. Normally, I would have shown a curb cut and not gone to the extent that I did in this case, but running through the town 25% steep slope, and trying to show or illustrate that a reasonable grade driveway, the greatest grade being 7.5%, is not that abnormal in the area of Nottingham for a driveway. As a comparison, for those, looking at these contour lines that I placed in here for the driveway, if you were to look up right around the area of Farm on the labeling of Ledge Farm Road, and you look at the contours going up around the corner, heading northwest or heading up towards the square, you'll see those contours and how close they are. Those measure about 10 to 12%. So just anybody who's drove up around that corner, and that's after the improvements that they did a few years ago. It was a little bit worse before, but just so you can see, and of course that's paved. Not sure if this driveway, if it gets paved, you've got some sort of a comparison with this driveway. And this driveway, I've got it labeled 7.5 to 7%. Let's see. Okay, one other thing that may not be clear on some of the paper copies, I made it clearer on the PDF that I discovered when I sent in a couple of days later, that I had omitted the fit for building area, which the town requires a 30,000 fit for building, which is area exclusive of building setbacks, ledge soils, wetlands, and such. There's a definition for that in your regs. Lot 6 has a calculated 40,000 where 30 is required. And of course, the oversized lot at 6.5 has a fit for building at 117,000 and change. So those 2 lots would exceed your 30,000 fit for building inside the 2-acre lot. And of course, we took out all the steep slopes as part of that calculation, which are clearly shown on the plan, probably clearer on the, what I call the clean sheet, which is the non-topo sheet. That has your steep slopes. They stick out a lot better on that. So that is all I've got to say. There are certain notes in here that I'm sure you've already read, so I won't go over those. But, one waiver, monument set, waiting for state subdivision approval.
Okay, thank you. Blair, do you have comments? I didn't see a.
I did not prepare one, so I don't have a memo for you. I apologize for that. It's an oversight on my part. I'm going through it now to see what might pop up. You know, I think if the board has questions, we can proceed on that front. It does appear that there's enough information here for the board to accept the application, at the very least.
Any questions on the completeness of the application before we accept it under the board's jurisdiction?
I do, yes.
On the completeness of the application, not on the
Yes, I
contents.
did look online, Pete, by the way, the building area envelope did show up on our online site, so we did get that somewhere along the way. I didn't see driveways though, and I was, pardon me?
It's on the topo sheet.
Yeah, it's on the topo.
It's a little, excuse me.
There's one.
And then this is big one.
Oh, yeah, we're here.
So I was talking about the grade change and stuff.
Right, so Pete.
Yes.
As you come around the corner, there was a pile of, it's a steep slope there. There's a pile of stones with a drill mark and a couple flags near the road. That's this middle marker here?
It sounds like the drill hole I set with an aluminum ID cap that's required by the town. Is that where you're?
Coming down the hill, you come around the corner.
That's the drill.
So, Chris,
I know what he's talking about. I
we
think.
can get into this when we actually accept the application so that we can discuss it.
I'll make a motion that we have a complete application then, if that's.
A second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
I'll make a second motion that it's not a project of regional impact.
Development of regional impact, okay.
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, questions from the board then?
Pete, how's the site distance on the lower driveway there?
You have, I'd say at least a couple hundred feet, easy. Was it-
Definitely looking downhill. I'm thinking more about looking up the,
Yeah, you can see up to the curve.
okay.
Can we ask for some cleared brush or something on the existing driveway just to improve the site distance? The site distance on the existing driveway, I know it's there, but it's poor. It's, you come around the corner, there is a sign there that says, hidden driveway or something, but it might be helpful to kind of clear some of the brush on that corner. Is that a reasonable thing that we could ask for? That you guys might want to do?
I mean, it's a existing driveway. It is what it is.
I don't
Just
think
to
we can
improve
ask
the
that.
safety on the, for the people driving down the road.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's more the, road commissioner would handle something like that rather than as part of this application. I'm just saying, it seems outside of our purview.
No, I agree with that because it's an existing driveway, but it's there and we're trying to, manage safety for people traveling on that road. And if there's an opportunity to make a slight improvement, I think that would behoove us. Do we want to also do a site walk?
I don't see where it's
See why
necessary.
it would be necessary?
Yeah.
That seems unnecessary to me, but you can make whatever motion you'd like, Bill.
Sure.
So there's only the existing driveway, right? There's no new driveway going in?
No new driveway on lot 6. The new driveway, of course, will be for the new lot. We'll need a new driveway, and that is shown on the topo sheet. down by the bottom of the lot.
Right here.
Clearly shows a driveway going up.
Yeah, and
Okay,
there's the
gotcha.
building.
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
With the grading, so that you could see that it's not a big mound, it's not a big wide, like if you were to put a road up here, you might have 100 feet of width with just required side slopes.
Yeah.
But I try to keep the driveways a foot or so above existing grade when I can, so you don't have it spreading out on the side of a hill like this.
Since it's on a scenic road, new driveways need input from the Conservation Commission as well.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's in our subdivision regulations,
Okay, have they given you
15.3.6.
comments yet?
Have you gone before the
Oh, do I
Conservation?
need, okay, no, I'm not sure
Yeah.
how your process is.
Subdivision regs 15.3.6, part 2. Plans for driveway location within the town right of way on a scenic road, including stone walls to be relocated or removed and trees to be removed, must be submitted to the Conservation Commission for review. Prior to final subdivision approval, the Conservation Commission may submit comments to the board regarding siting and mitigation efforts such as those required by paragraph 3 below. These comments shall be incorporated into the decision of the planning board unless specifically rejected by a majority vote. So,
Sounds like we'll have to get those.
yeah,
Yeah, I'll send them a plan and a letter and
okay.
get some comments.
Great.
If they wanna go out, I'll take a walk.
So it sounds like we can't make a decision till we have that
Yeah,
information.
we're supposed to have Conservation Commission's input on this, any comments they've got. And they meet the second Monday of the month. So unfortunately, it was just this past Monday that the Concom met. So that would put that meeting, the 13th of July is when that meeting would happen. So they have co-chairs now, so I would email the co-chairs and get on that agenda for review. So, we're gonna need to continue this case, but we could act upon the waivers that were submitted if we would like. Or we could do those after, at the next meeting. I might suggest that we just wait on those until the next meeting to keep this meeting moving forward, if that is all right.
Are we gonna be here with the chicken people?
How many waivers are there?
I'll come in 2 hours later, that's all.
Only one waiver?
Yeah, was there one or two waivers?
Just one waiver.
Test
One
pit,
waiver.
yeah.
For the test pits?
Yeah,
Well, I mean, if the board wants to
We can
act
look
on
at
that,
that.
we can certainly do that.
Peter, the lot 6 already has,
Oh, yes, you saw my notes.
already has a separate.
The rule says 2 test pits in like the 4K, so I only have 1, that's why I'm putting the waiver in. But this has a state-approved septic, thanks Skip, down over the hill, you'll see. And that's labeled test pit B. So we only really have 1 down there at the test pit, and we have the construction approval for that.
Right, but you don't need any waivers for lot 6, it's just lot 6-3. Right?
No.
'Cause-
No, I guess the way, maybe, unless you interpolate it differently, I interpolate the rules, I have to have 2 test pits in the 4K area. And I only show 1.
Right, for lot 6-3.
No, for lot 6.
Right, I'm confused. That's existing, isn't it?
well, they're subdivided, so it's gonna become its own,
The lot is existing at 9 acres.
yeah.
When I reduce it to less than, do whatever, when I cut it in half now, if that's a separate lot, we're
And they-
starting over.
And they
That's a
just
new
put
lot.
in a new septic there just a few years ago, didn't they? On that one? Yeah.
No, I think
Yeah,
it
I
was-
thought you did. Yeah, I was gonna say, I remember when that went
That was a
in.
while ago, because it was a tough one. That's why I
Yeah,
ended up over the
that was a
hill.
tough location.
So, yeah, do you see that, Skip, on your topo sheet?
I see it, I'm confused why we're dealing with a 4K area on a lot that already exists, but.
Because it's going down to under 5 acres, and that's
Understand.
when DES triggers.
It's gonna become a new.
I know,
Yeah.
I know,
hear you.
it's dumb, but that's the rule.
Okay. I'll listen and hear you.
I'm gonna make a motion to accept the waiver as written, to allow for 1 test pit on lot 6.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, that passes. You've got your waiver. Okay, so I think at this point, we probably need to continue since the Conservation Commission meets on the 13th and the first, yeah, I think that would make it July 22nd. Does that work for you, Mr. Landry?
Are we opening for public comment tonight?
Yes, sorry. Okay, yeah, if you wouldn't mind stepping away for a
Certainly.
minute so that we can open.
So tentatively, we're looking at the 22nd.
That would be the one that would
That would be
align.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like the earliest.
Yeah. Okay, it's 8:40 PM. I am opening this up to public comment. I don't think we've received any written testimony. Any members of the public wishing to speak on this case? Seeing none, going once, going twice. It is 8:40 and I am closing the public comment session for this case. Come back, sorry for making you stand.
Church.
Okay, so now we're looking to continue, unless you have anything else you'd like to add before we move to continue.
Maybe we'll just go over Blair's comments, I guess, at the next meeting, Blair?
Yeah, I'll
You
prepare
have
something for the
anything?
next week.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll get it to you as soon as possible so you can
That seems fair.
update plans if there's anything I catch.
All right, so I'm looking for a motion to continue case,
26010.
26010. 26012
Sorry.
to July 22nd at 6:30 PM.
Motion as stated.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, we'll see you on the 22nd of
thanks.
July.
So Pete, I just have a
Nope,
quick.
we're done.
Oh, okay.
All right, next up on the agenda
Oh, yeah.
is the preliminary conceptual consultation. This is case 26011, PCC Hall, 255 Old Turnpike Road. Discussion over proposal to put an apartment in the commercial property at 255 Old Turnpike Road, Route 4, Nottingham, New Hampshire. Tax map number 16, lot number 7. Okay, you have the floor.
Okay, so, how are you guys?
Tired.
I know, me too. So I know that there's no, more, you're not allowing any more residential on Route 4. So, okay, so Dale sent me in, and just to see, like, I'm not all crazy. It's okay, whatever comes out, okay, I'm not gonna be crazy about it. But I do have like 18 feet by 35 feet, and the guy that's selling cars there, he is looking at a 6-year lease. So we discussed this area and it's really not to any use. So, and I always looked at it as I would like to put an apartment in there, but I wouldn't know how to just put an apartment in, you know, would need, but anyway, Dale sent me in here, cause I, you know what I mean, so you have laws to follow. So anyway, the space is there, the guy, he's staying 6 years, and so my thing is, it's not on Route 4. Like, there is no driveway onto my property from Route 4. I brought in the electric bills. Even the electric bill, even after I complained to Eversource about it, they call the property 1 Cooper Hill Road, Northwood, New Hampshire, okay? And can put up a mailbox. They don't go, the mailed people, even the federal government doesn't go onto the property. It's on Cooper Hill Road. So my exit and entrance is Cooper Hill Road. And even when the state wants to come in and either put a stoplight or a turn there, my entrance will still be on that other road. There's no entrance. There probably never will be an entrance on Route 4. So there is this area in the building, 18 feet by 35 feet, that would make a nice little apartment for somebody. So I wanted to see if that was something I could move forward or is it an absolutely no? Because I guess I would need a waiver.
Yeah, you need a variance from the zoning board because the commercial industrial district doesn't allow single-family residential And so you'd have to go before the zoning board of adjustments to get a variance from that zoning ordinance. And if they grant that, then you do a site plan, right, Claire, and come before us?
Oh, so, okay, so Dale sent me to the wrong board.
Well, possibly not.
Cause he,
Um,
okay,
Because that's,
The
they would need
commercially-
variance for several things. One is the use, and two, minimum area. So you have an uphill battle even with the Board of Appeals.
oh, okay,
You would
do you
need
know what the
multiple-
minimum area is?
It's 2 acres per use.
Okay, so that's, and I don't have that.
If you have 1.84, is that correct? In Nottingham, something
I
like
have
that?
no clue.
That's what the, online, so it does not appear that this is a candidate for
Okay,
a site plan approval for, at this point in time, the applicant would need several variances.
okay, so it's 2 acres, but the property, so it's really funny property, you know, half of it's in Seacoast region and half of it's in Lakes region, you know? And it's connected, it's always been connected, and it's never gonna be disconnected because the septic is,
Yeah, the issue is not where you take your frontage from or where you take your driveway from. It's in a zoning district that is measured from the roadway back 1,000 feet. So regardless of whether your entrance is off of Route 4 or off of Cooper Hill, you're within the commercial industrial district.
So,
No,
well, I wanna
Okay,
just
so no.
point out, I just wanna point out
I know,
that in the
I know,
commercial
I know.
industrial zone, it
answer
says
is no.
specifically that it only includes lots with frontage on Route 4, and under permitted uses, it does have mixed use.
Mixed use, I was gonna point out the same.
Right, and
Which-
that was something that we had discussed last year
I know.
about the fact that mixed use was permitted.
And it doesn't allow for single residence, single dwellings, or it doesn't meet the
But
lot,
it's
it doesn't
not-
meet the lot minimum. As I said, both are uphill battles, and they would require variances.
so I could rent it, maybe I could take the space and do maybe a hairdresser or something in there? An office, maybe like a CPA office or a lawyer's
If you look at the
office?
commercial industrial zoning district and look at the uses that are allowed in there, then you can go with those. The ones that you described, from my recollection, yes, those would.
Maybe I should do something with, like that with the space. Okay, well,
I want to point out that today, I read something that 2 laws were passed in both the Senate and the
They haven't been signed by the
legislature.
governor yet, they're not applicable. So
That were
right
not signed
now-
by the governor yet, and that the state law that requires that towns allow multifamily into a commercial district has been modified. And I do believe they had a provision in there about mixed use and about lot size in this new law that's coming. It's not signed by the governor, so it's not in effect.
Right.
But the
Like
old
our
law
inspections.
that was in effect on July 1st. So if it gets signed, that may be a new avenue to look at, so, and be paying attention to. Right now, there might be different requirements than in 30 days from now.
okay, so,
I don't think that that's gonna change anything for you. The minimum lot size is determined locally. I don't, my understanding, my interpretation of it is that is not.
Did you read that?
I did, yes.
Okay. I only read it once.
so I could, but I wonder if I could donate land to
Okay.
Northwood.
We still have one more to go.
No, but, okay,
Thank you
so,
for the consultation.
so hang on, so just let me write this down. So there's a new law and I should look for the lot size, cause it wasn't anything
This
I
meeting is
wanted-
also recorded, so you can go on the town's YouTube channel and find this recording to go back through the comments of the board as well.
So the only thing is the lot size and what else?
The use.
The single-family residential is not an allowed use.
Right,
Is
but-
it that
but
under
like,
mixed use?
okay, you know how you sat there and but it's the mailman's going into Northwood, they're not dropping on in Nottingham. And then the electric company is calling it 1 Cooper Hill Road, Northwood, New Hampshire.
Equivalent, yes, we understand.
So that was my thing, that's, you know what I mean? So other than that, I mean, cause I could really push for that.
Land is zoned commercial industrial.
It doesn't
Otherwise
matter.
otherwise it's zoned
Okay, yeah,
Otherwise,
I get that.
yeah.
All right, I'm all set. I
Great,
get it,
thank you.
thank you.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close the conceptual consultation 26011.
I will so move.
All right, we have,
I will second.
all right, any further discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Other business, case 26010, merger for Kearns, 10 Pine Street, review of voluntary merger, 10 Pine Street, map number 1, lots number 143, 149, and 150, continued from April 22nd and from May 27th. Mr. Kearns, welcome back. Glad to see you finally, and sorry for the long wait. So where are we at with this? We,
Sorry about 2 weeks ago.
yeah.
That was not expected.
Called for you, and it was a Bueller type of situation. Sorry it didn't happen then, but here you are.
Glad it didn't happen.
How did you decide that you wanted to proceed with your mergers?
The 149, 150, and 151 to merge those.
And those were the ones that are all on the one side of the...
all on the one
Okay,
side.
gotcha. Did you
So-
update your voluntary merger application saying that?
He sent an email with a request to revise
That's
it.
sufficient?
Yeah,
Okay,
I would
great.
think that is.
All right, do we have any discussion about this?
As long as they're on two sides of the road.
It's not.
It's the same side.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you fix that. It's
that's
just doing the
the
ones
revision.
that are...
Those three are on
each
one
other.
side and the other house lot is on the
Yeah,
other
that's,
side.
Right.
And you're
gonna-
merging
yeah,
those
that's
two.
gonna be a total separate issue,
Yeah.
Thank
so
you.
we're just
Okay.
leaving it at that.
All right, check.
Okay.
That was a problem, but this should be fine.
Out of curiosity, is Pine Street, is that a private right of way? Is that an easement? Or
It's an old,
camp road?
camp, like, just so people could get to their houses, but then they build a road around it.
Gotcha.
That's
Okay.
all it is.
Pine Street today kind of looks
Doesn't
like
exist. That one.
upside down H, if you will.
Mhm.
That fair?
Yeah.
And one leg of the H doesn't really exist.
I was just curious about the
Yeah,
legal status.
I
of
was
it.
just
It
told
doesn't
it was
matter.
unclaimed land at this point.
It's,
It's just
there-
a right
there
of
is,
way.
there is a lot though at the
Lowercase, yeah.
other
Yeah,
side
so-
of, between your two, or access to a lot, so I think they would.
Yeah, they-
We're not
That's to drive
merging
around.
anything across that, so
Right,
let's,
so
It doesn't matter.
That
How about-
actually ends anyway.
Take a
before their
motion.
property.
how about a motion
I would make
to...
a motion that we accept the merger application for the three lots on one side.
All right,
Whatever the lot numbers were, I don't have a plan.
143, 149, and 150. Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second for Mr. Ryan? Any further discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion is to advise the selectmen to accept this, I believe.
Is it?
We're not
Sure.
approving it, we're just
Sure.
advising the selectmen to, that we review this and accept it.
Okay, perfect. That motion carries. Thank you, Mr.
We're
Grimes.
waiting for chickens, okay? Thank you for your time.
All right.
Did we need discussion on that? Or
No.
public?
Voluntary
It's not a-
merger doesn't
Okay,
have,
all right,
yeah, it's not a
good.
public hearing.
Sorry,
It's not
Yeah, no,
technically-
thanks for, good to have,
I'm a little brain dead right now.
I think we all are. So before we go on to the next part, if you turn to your other section in your binders, we did today receive the reviewed temporary moratorium ordinance on data centers from town council. And so they only had a few comments on it. The first was that the very last bullet on the first page, it had impacts twice. It said long-term impacts, health impacts. That was just a scribe error on my part. And then the definition of data centers, they suggested using the definition that was contained in SB, I can't remember the number of it, but the bill that was before the legislature that got tabled ultimately, but that definition of data center, the legal counsel felt was more comprehensive in capturing data center uses without excluding things like telecommunications and that type of infrastructure, which I think is what the intent of this moratorium is. So it now has that definition that was put in there. And then the third and last edit that they made was under the duration section on page 3. It originally had 2 bullet points that said, unless extended per RSA, or unless repealed earlier by the legislative body. So the RSA doesn't really allow for it to be extended. It would have to be a substantially different moratorium, so it didn't really apply. So they got rid of that, and it says, unless repealed earlier by the legislative body. And so that is essentially all that was changed in it. Everything else is the same as we discussed at our special meeting last Wednesday. And what else did I want to say on this? The document itself is not an amendment to our zoning ordinances. It is a temporary moratorium ordinance on data centers that would be voted in, as its own warrant at a special town meeting, and would stand on its own until it expired 12 months after the legislative body accepted it at a special town meeting. I think that's it. Anything else you'd like to add, Blair?
No, town council, trumps me, I know we're all surprised by that, but yes, it happens. No, you have to just pick a date for the hearing.
Did you come up with a good date for that hearing?
Well, if you stayed, if you wanna have it be on a Wednesday to be in line with, your day that you meet on, July 1st is the next one. July 22nd, 4th, it's unlikely we would be able to make that and meet the statutory requirement of 10 days free and clear, not counting post date and the meeting date. So July 1st would be it. If you don't want to do it on a Wednesday night, you can do something else. You can choose a different night. You're not bound by that. And it is just simply to have a public hearing on a document that you hope doesn't change, because then you have to have another public hearing. So
we don't anticipate it changing, because we already, at last week's special meeting, we had the public input quite a bit, and I think we hashed out hopefully everything that we wanted to see in this. And now that legal's gone through it, we're hopefully at the finish line. And just to be clear, it doesn't really matter when we set the hearing, outside of the requirements of how long you take to have a hearing. As soon as this hearing is legally noticed, then the town is protected, as long as the ordinance actually gets passed during the special town meeting that would happen. So it doesn't matter that it's not exactly 10 days. As soon as it's legally noticed, the zoning essentially freezes and would have this apply. So we're hoping to get that noticed by Friday. It might be Monday, but that's where we're at.
Yeah, so the next Wednesday that's available is the 1st.
Yeah,
July
July 1st.
Yeah, July 1st. Otherwise, you can pick other nights.
Right.
Would we need to hold that at the school? Do we anticipate?
It would probably be a decently I would imagine at least at the gym here.
The public notice needs to, I think you kind of have to have it where you're gonna notice it.
Yeah.
So I would not wanna get caught up in some silly procedural thing.
So we could hold it here and have overflow rooms as well, right? We wouldn't need to, I don't expect
place to do it.
people from Maine and Massachusetts to show up for this part, although I guess I can't say for sure.
We don't expect any changes associated with it.
No, but the
So
public might be there to support it and everything
The
else.
public can be there, sure.
Yeah, right.
And they can make comment if they want. They just have to realize if they make comment.
That it's gonna need another public hearing, if the board decides to incorporate any of that public comment, right?
So I think you have to allow for more, but you don't have to go to the school, I don't believe.
Yeah, okay.
Just in this building, in the gym.
So what do we think about July 1st at, say, 7 PM at the school gym? Or sorry, at the
multi-purpose
room here at the
Community
town
center.
hall, municipal building.
Do they have, I don't know if we trump karate, but,
They canceled it before for,
Okay.
so they might have to do it again.
all right.
And it might be over by then also, because school is done, so
I mean, do you wanna schedule it for this room and allow overflow
I
over
would
there?
say, I
We
don't-
could do it that way.
Because
the other, yeah.
someone had, noted that karate's been canceled quite a few times.
Yeah,
Some of
sure.
these things. So-
But they might be on break because it's 4th of July,
It
you just don't know,
could be.
so, yeah.
And again, you can do it a different night, it doesn't have to be a Wednesday. I can't personally make July 1st, unfortunately, but I will make sure, if you require it, an SRPC person be there.
I don't think we'd need that, given that, we're hopefully at the finish line and we'd just be taking public comment, and I don't think it'll get too raucous.
I would
So
think
Drew,
not.
didn't we have public comment, and are we putting this moratorium in place, or is the select board doing it?
We have to hold a public hearing that we then submit as a warrant to the select board, and I met with them last Monday, and they have agreed that holding a special town meeting is of interest to the town to get this passed. I think there's a 120-day clock once the public hearing happens and this board moves it to warrant. But the town wants it to happen post haste, so.
Now, just a question about timing. So we get this noticed out on Friday, say. If he comes in on Tuesday with a new data center proposal, for instance, are the rules as they exist right now frozen in place? And whatever we do here doesn't affect it?
Any proposed ordinance changes, once they are publicly noticed, legally noticed, there's a freeze on anything that would go under those new ordinances, right? And so then if the town votes and they don't pass, then it could come back. But once the public notice has been made for something that an application would go under ordinance-wise, can't happen.
Okay, so basically, as soon as this gets noticed,
Correct.
everything is on hold
Correct.
until that vote happens.
Correct.
Perfect.
That is why
Okay.
we've tried to move so quickly with this.
Yep, makes sense.
Really impressive, actually.
Yeah,
Right.
very,
Yeah, good.
very.
Well,
So
we found
are
the
we
fire.
supposed to make a motion to accept this temporary moratorium and move forward on this?
No, we've already, this is the version that town council has weighed in on. And so what we're gonna motion for, hopefully, is to hold a public hearing on this proposed temporary moratorium ordinance on data centers to occur July 1st at 7 PM here in this room.
I'll still move.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
You guys gotta battle it out. All right,
Rock, paper, scissors,
I'll take Mr. Griswold's. Okay, we have
We'll give it
a
to
motion
Glenn.
for Mr. Severns, a second for Mr. Griswold. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, that's unanimous. So July 1st at 7 PM in this room, we will hold that public hearing. And hopefully that'll be noticed on Friday. If not, it would be Monday. And yes, I want to commend the board on helping move this forward so quickly. I don't know if any municipal body has ever moved this quickly on a matter.
Does that prove we're slacking in other areas though?
Moving at a normal pace in other areas. Okay, it is 9:02, so let's keep this going. Select board, committee, staff, board member updates. I will start with Mr. Severns.
I got word back from, the assessing firm, Avatar.
Yep.
That keeping the parent lot, keeping the parent lot, keeping the parent lot is the way to go with map and lot number.
Okay.
Unfortunately, like Peter's subdivision tonight, it's lot 6, which is the parent lot, and 6-3, which ends up being the next number of the large parent lot that exists, even though what he showed us didn't look right. So when you look at the tax map, there's the lot 6 that existed prior, that exists right now. And then there's a lot 6-1-A and B, which was 6-1 that got split up. 6-2 is on the other side of 6. And then because the parent lot still existed and they split up the parent lot, this one becomes 6-3.
So are you saying that's the way it should be, or that's not the preferred
Well,
way.
that's one of those areas that when you look at it, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But in this case, it does because they kept cutting off lot 6. So if they were cutting, well, if you look at 6-1-1A and 1B, it was 6-1 that was the parent lot for that one, and they created 2 additional lots. He also doesn't like letters, but he can deal with letters. So those, in his estimation, should have gone 6-1-1 and 6-1-2. But keeping the parent lot is,
From a,
history standpoint, it's great.
yeah. Figuring out where those lots came from, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what I got.
Mr. Ryan?
Yeah, I got some good juicy stuff. I don't know if I can talk about it yet. As far as,
Can I have my nickel back? We vote on CIP reps?
Oh, sure, yeah.
I'd like to be one again.
Okay. How many do we?
We had 2, but
2, okay.
we don't need 2 necessarily. It all depends on somebody else.
Does anybody else want to be a capital improvements program?
Plan.
Plan. Rep? Okay, I will nominate Skip to be the planning board representative for the CIP.
Cool, thank you.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, second from Mr. Evans. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, that carries.
Okay, good,
Thank you for
thanks.
that reminder.
All right, juicy stuff.
can't, but the simple stuff, I'm a bad volunteer today. I really don't have anything from the select board coming up. I mean, but that you guys don't already know. The big thing came across for the moratorium. We're working closely with this board, and getting that done as fast as possible.
We did receive advice from legal counsel that it just needs a simple majority of those who are at the special town meeting for it to pass. I know there was a
So it's
question
not the
about
50 vote thing, the 50?
Nope, it just whoever shows up, as long as a majority of them vote for it,
Right,
we're good.
wonderful.
That'll be a problem.
Yeah, everyone knows the town beach that's closed until, well, the access road is closed until further notice. Yeah, that's, I apologize for not being better prepared today, but
That's okay,
that's
it's
all I
been a
got.
long night.
I have something really quickly, yeah.
Sure.
The Workforce Housing Coalition and UNH Cooperative Extension are holding a panel discussion with breakout sessions for municipal staff and elected and appointed land use board members. And that's on Tuesday, the 16th, so next Tuesday, from 4:30 to 6. It's gonna be held in Dover. The site hasn't been determined yet. I think they're trying to figure out the number, but if anyone's interested, let me know and I'll email you the information so you can sign up.
Workforce housing.
Workforce Housing Coalition and UNH Cooperative Extension.
No, my life has been moratorium for the last few weeks, so I'm good.
Can I ask just a question about the moratorium?
We're gonna have public comment in a little bit, so you'll have a chance to comment and ask some questions, and we'll be able to respond then. We'll get to you. Sorry, I know it's been a long night.
Pass.
Okay,
Jazz hands.
all right, Mr. Evans.
I just had a comment that somebody asked about counting the chickens, and I would just wanted to add that we can't count them before they hatch. Bada bing.
Okay,
Sorry.
Blair,
They'll put that
how you
in
gonna
the
follow
comment.
that act up?
That's in the minute.
Grown.
Well played.
I'm trying to. So I just a reminder that I sent to all of you a notification that SRPC is doing its annual meeting, and it's the 55th anniversary. They would have done a 50th, but it was during COVID, so they couldn't. So we're doing a 55th sort of look back. So it's a bigger deal. I did email you all, forward you the notification. So I think you were supposed to register by today, but I think if you do it tomorrow or something, you'll sneak through, but just a reminder. We've probably got about 60 people going at this point, so, and some good speakers. Otherwise, I'll just leave it there.
Was this one they did at Three Chimneys a couple of years ago?
I mean, we do an annual meeting every year, but this one we're making a bigger deal out of just because it was supposed to be a 50th celebration.
That was a really great meeting, by the way.
It is, they're usually really good. I mean, it's a look back on the year of what we've done, and you know, you're one of the 18 communities, so a lot of what we've done is something that you are either directly impacted by and benefit from, or you were sort of knee-bone connected to the shin bone, benefited from. So it is a good meeting. It is a good opportunity to just sort of see what everyone else is doing. But
Tracy, anything?
I just wanted to remind you there's Mylar to be signed.
Okay, great.
thank you.
All right, next item, review master plan, site plan regulations and zoning ordinances. We ready to get into that? No, okay, we're
I
good.
just want to make speaking of Mylar, this has come up. I have been told, one, that the board can motion to make it a policy that the only person that needs to sign the Mylar is the chair.
Okay.
I thought you needed a quorum of members to sign it. You can even go so far as to designate the duty to someone like Tracy, if you make a motion at a meeting or something like that. In some communities, they delegate it to the town planner if you had one. I'm a contract planner, but if you had an employee, you could do it. So this may be something that we want to talk about at some point, because chasing down these signatures is becoming an issue. I bring that up maybe as something we consider at a future meeting.
All right. So, yeah, we're gonna skip the review of the master plan, site plan regulations and zoning ordinances tonight because time doesn't permit. And now we come to public comment. It is 9:11 PM and I will open the floor to public comment. So during the general public comment session, the board can't respond to comments made about specific properties, projects, or applications, just to let you know. So if you'd like to come up and comment or ask the board something.
Just a quick question about the moratorium.
Sure.
At the last meeting that was just last week, when you were working on this, you had said that once it passed review by the legal beagles, you would then have it published so that other people could read it.
Right.
Where will it be published and when?
It will be published on the planning board website. And is it also part of the public hearing notice too, Blair? Does the language of the
No, it'll just direct you where to find it.
And I'm sure it'll be posted on the main town's page as well. I will ask the town administrator to also post it on the main town page as well, since there's so much interest in it. So you'll definitely be able to find it on the planning board's, sub-page on the town site.
Approximately when?
I'll send it to.
No later than when it's
publicly noticed,
the public notice.
So I would say Friday, you would be able to see that, because we're gonna get all the stuff in there for it, and
at the latest Monday.
Yeah, at the very latest Monday.
Can we give her a copy that we have here?
We don't want to distribute it until it's been publicly noticed.
Check. Yeah. Okay.
And then it becomes a
Official.
public thing. I know, I've been asked by multiple people about getting copies, but we gotta follow the procedure and make sure it doesn't get out there before it's, when it's premature.
I appreciate the time.
Yeah, absolutely, thank you.
Thank you for sticking around.
Public comment? Okay, it's 9:12, I'm gonna close the public comment. Last thing we've got is to approve minutes. We've tabled these minutes for quite a couple of meetings. I know it's late, but I feel like we probably should go through them and approve them. So the first one is the May 13th, 2026 minutes.
Is that in here?
It's at least been mailed to you. I don't know if it's in your binder. I think we might only have the special meeting minutes in our binder. Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Gotta check your mail, Chris.
I have a lot, so.
Mr. Popular.
Skip often. He always has everything. He's well prepared.
I have a printer at home. I don't care about trees.
Got plenty of them in town.
Skip.
Well, If, depending on the minutes, there was, if this is the minutes where we went into a special session.
We have separate minutes on the public session as well, yeah.
Oh, okay, well, I don't know about that, but I don't have that in my hand, but I did.
They were also mailed to you.
I don't have them in my hand, so I don't memorize, but I did wanna comment that there was one thing noted in there that it said that I didn't get here until 7, but I was actually in the I poked straight into the closed hearing. So
Yeah, we
I
can-
got here like 6:40, but it said I got here at 7
So
when
in
we
the
all came
public
back in.
session, in the public session portion of the minutes, she saw you come in at 7, and so that's why it reflects 7 o'clock.
But I actually was in the
Right, so are you asking for the
secret
minutes
meeting.
to reflect 6:40?
I don't
For the
know if that
public
would be
session?
important, if this goes through an appeal and was I involved in that discussion or
Okay.
secret meeting or not.
Well,
basically
it's not a
the
secret
meeting-
meeting, it's a non-public session. And
Whatever it's
the
called.
minutes for that, they do show you being in that, so I don't think there would be any question that
Okay.
you were involved.
I didn't see those minutes, so.
I'll make a motion to approve the public minutes of the May 13th meeting
All right, we have
as written.
as written. We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Evans, who doesn't have them in front of him. Any further
More?
discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, one abstention. All right, now the non-public secret session. No, the non-public session for May 13th. It's just a one pager. The counts for the motions, I think, might be inaccurate. I think they should all be 700. I don't think we were missing any members, right?
Yeah.
But we had, you two sat,
That's one,
I think it was,
5, that's 6.
I don't,
And Andrew was there, right?
And Andrew was
Oh, there
there.
you go,
Adam,
7.
Evans, Lichtenwald, Arsenal, Ryan, Griswold, Stevens.
You're talking about June
6.
3rd?
No, May 13th, non-public session, the one pager.
I think it was 7.
Yeah, because after Chris showed up, well, he showed up before we took any of the motions. Or actually, okay, I think motion to enter non-public session under RC. Glenn Griswold seconded, roll call vote was taken. Blair, do you remember in the non-public when we went into the other room, did we then do a motion to enter non-public session, or did that motion happen here?
Happened out here.
It happened out here, okay, so I think in that case, then,
I think we did it both.
did we do both?
I mean, you could have motioned to open non-public, but I don't know.
Mr. Ryan moved to enter non-public session as described. Mr. Griswold seconded the motion. Roll call vote was taken.
Okay. All right then. So then I think each one of the, the motion carried, there are 3 of them here, they should all be 700. And I think that was the only,
Skip wasn't counted in the non-public minutes. I've counted it like 5 times. And I just realized that Skip's name is not under there.
in the non-public or in
In
the
the
public?
non-public.
Skip Severn's alternate.
I don't remember you being there.
Right, but look at the actual roll call vote.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean. Okay, yeah, so for that first vote, need to add Severn's aye.
Were you a voting member for that one?
It was, we
Yeah,
seated him
yes.
in here at the beginning of the meeting. And I think, the second motion on this, it says that Skip made that motion, but he's not in the roll call vote.
Right.
So he should be added there as well. And I think that's also the case for the
Is
third
that when I
one.
was sleeping?
Apparently.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so he needs to be added to each of those motions, and the motion should be changed to 700.
Skip, you need to keep wearing the bright orange shirt so that we notice you.
All right. Any other changes in that?
One, my first name is spelled wrong on line 18.
Okay, 2 N's in Glenn
Yep.
on line 18.
I think on the other one, it's spelled wrong too, but whatever.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to accept these minutes as amended.
I will make that motion.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Yes.
1 abstention, okay. All right, do we wanna, we can hold off on the other 2 sets of minutes until the next meeting. We've at least gone through half of what we got. How do we feel about that?
Yeah, we can bang them out, burn that anyways.
Fine doing that, I'm already brain dead, so, okay. Sure. All right, so the May 27th, the one that was held at the school gym.
Oy vey.
It wasn't a long one, but it was a active one.
So many for the
It's an
same.
interesting read.
Yeah.
Anything bad.
And Tracy, thank you for taking those minutes. I know it was a last minute, like, we were expecting it to have a recording and all that stuff, and appreciate you stepping up to take those.
Yeah, I took minutes, but, Beth was able to do them on recording that Danny had.
Oh, I'm talking about the one that was at the school gym.
At the school
Yeah,
one.
the
Oh,
one with the
sorry.
big public comment,
Oh, yeah.
since we had tech issues.
I wasn't following which ones you were at. Yeah, you're welcome. We have a challenge.
All right, any changes to these?
I'll make a motion to approve the March 27th.
May's 27th.
May 27th, thank you.
We have a motion. Does that have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Mr. Ryan seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right.
Yes.
And now the June 3rd. This one is in your
Book.
binder, book, yeah, your tome.
Powering through.
This was for our special meeting that we had last week, so probably fresh in most of our minds.
Yellow stick.
I reviewed it earlier and everything looked fine to me.
It looked good to me.
Good enough to make a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve the special workshop meeting on June 3rd, draft minutes
And I'll
as
second.
written.
Oh, and I'll second
I
that.
have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Yep.
All right. All right, we went through the minutes. Thank you all. Last item on the agenda.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, we have a motion. We have a second. A second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you all. This has been another fun one. Appreciate your time.